EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. J-Mac, how you doing on a Wednesday morning, brother? A quick turnover this week as we are now just on the eve of Week 6 game day for the Eagles. J-Mac, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, Thursday football. Ugh. The whole thing is just, everything about it.
Well, it's a long day, but do you at least appreciate that you get a Sunday back, or are you just doom and gloom on the Thursday ball, John?
I just don't. I just don't like Thursday football from the perspective of just the product and all the aesthetic stuff. Nothing with me. Like I joke about traffic. Unfortunately, I got to go to New York or North Jersey, but so you're not going to beat traffic anytime there. But yeah, I mean, you don't practice. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
you're more talking about all football here when it comes.
Yes, all of football.
Gotcha.
It's just awful. Now, some of the players, especially the veteran players, like it because they don't want to practice and they don't need to practice, and they'd rather just play the game and have the weekend off. Jason Kelsey used to say that. As Zach Bone about that said similar things. But for the younger players who need the technique and the fundamentals and all that stuff, it's very harmful. You're not, even though people hate to say you're not game planning, you're not game planning. At least a normal amount and for a typical Sunday game. It's basically a DNA game. So you look inward, you play what you do well, and you kind of say, all right, let's line up. The Giants, if they do anything, they'll say we'll do that. And the Eagles will try to do what they think they do well. And yeah, I mean, the whole process is just terrible. But Amazon pays a lot of money. And if one of these other companies wants to pay for Wednesday football, they'll probably play Wednesday football.
Yeah, they will. They will, John.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
what it
waiting for
is.
Friday makes a little more sense. Obviously, Wednesday is a little bit tongue in cheek. I don't know if that's even. I don't know.
Well, the problem, everything involves television, and that's and less people watch TV on Friday night than Thursday nights, and that's the mentality of why they probably would rather have it on Friday nights, and they do the Black Friday game, and the Eagles will be in that this year. But that's why they settled on Thursday night, because TV viewership is higher. Everything is TV.
Yep, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, let's prep for this game a little bit. We'll get into some of the conversations that were had yesterday. Jalen spoke, Kevin Patullo spoke, Vic Fangio spoke, so we'll hit on some of that stuff. But just going into this Eagles-Giants game, Thursday night football, what is the injury report, John? Doesn't look too bad outside of Landon. Landon did not practice yesterday, and Grant Calcaterra did not practice. But Saquon, Jahad Campbell, Byron Young were upgraded to limited participants, or maybe just Saquon was upgraded. And then Nakobe Dean was a full participant. What do you know, John, about the status of these guys for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I expect Landon and Grant to be ruled out today. I don't think they're going to play. Saquon's going to play. So those are your key guys, and I think it's pretty clear which route that's going down. Saquon said he's going to play yesterday. With Landon and Grant, they're, especially in a short week, you can't make that kind of recovery. So, and maybe that's in the long run, maybe that's a good thing, especially for Landon Dickerson to settle down, get that extra time, have a mini bye week, and potentially get ready for Minnesota. And that might be, even from what I've heard, that might even be touch and go. But knowing Landon, he'll try to get back for that game. But definitely going to miss tomorrow. Might miss another game, but then should be back. So, and that might help him with the other issues as well, to sort of calm some of that stuff down. So that could be a silver lining. And let's be honest, I mean, this is not a good football team they're going up and face. So this is a nice situation, even though you never want to go on the road, but you're only driving a luxury bus up the turnpike. It's not like you're flying across country
Right.
or even halfway across the country. So that's a positive. And then they're not very good. And they shifted from from a veteran quarterback to a young quarterback. I think all the sample sizes are still too small, but the Giants have the 19th ranked offense. The Eagles have the 30th ranked offense. But all of that is based on that one game in Dallas where they just threw it all over the place and it went to overtime. And it's like, and Russell Wilson's not playing since they shifted to Jackson Dart. They've been brutal offensively. Especially throwing the football. Now he's added something to the running game. Vic Fangio made a big deal about that as far as the gun runs and things like that. But you can't build an offense around that.
Yeah.
So they're really up against it offensively, even though if you look at it on paper, you say, well, they're better than the Eagles. No, they're not.
Yeah, it's good context there.
Yeah. So
well, the other factor, John, is also obviously Malik Neighbors, who we all know is out for the year for his ACL. But they're also missing Darius Slayton, who, hey, he might not strike fear in anyone, but when you lose Malik Neighbors, those type of guys become more important to a team. And now he was a DNP yesterday, did not practice, as well as their tackle Jermaine Illuminor. I don't know if I said that right, but Illuminor or however you say that. So 2 starters for them that were DNPs yesterday, and they could potentially be in jeopardy of missing Thursday's game. So that'll make it even harder for that offense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Malik Neighbors is one of the few players that you can look at on the Giants offensively and say, all right, that guy's good.
Right.
So that was a devastating injury for them, torn ACL out for the season. So now, as you mentioned, and Slayton's hurt, who plays a lot and, hasn't been playing well, but he plays a lot. So, you're relying on Wan'Dale Robinson as your top receiver, who's, not a bad player, but certainly not somewhere you want to be. Cam Scatterbo at running back, which excites a lot of people, but, and he's a good player as a rookie, but he's not explosive. He's not going to break off the 70-yard run where you're going to fear him. So they're just up against it offensively. And then their seemingly decade-long struggle to find an offensive line is just, not working.
Never ending.
Yeah.
I want to see Cam Scatterbo and Cooper DeJean in the open field, head to head. Who makes the play? The thing I like about Scatterbo, I think he's a solid player, but I just like that he runs through people, man.
He's physical, and that will excite some people, and that's, I think, why he gets a little bit more hype than probably deserved because of that. And should note Andrew Thomas is back, and he is good, so they do have at least one good offensive lineman. And he's legitimately good, but everybody else is at best. John Michael Schmitz is kind of below average at center. Guards are John Runyon's Jr. Hasn't lived up to the hype when he came over as a free agent. Greg Van Roten, not very good. You mentioned Illuminor. He's better equipped to play right tackle than left tackle, but he hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire either. So, remains the same issues. And I don't know. I've been saying it for a couple of years, but I don't know how Brian Daboll survives this or Joe Shane, but it's not a very good football team.
No, they're not a good football team. And if I'm Jackson Dart, I don't know if I want him to survive it, to be honest with you. But we'll see what ends up happening with all that. John, how much stock do you put into this? I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but the MetLife turf. Are you like, it's an issue. Yeah, it's something to be careful of. It's a lot of nothing. Like, what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
I meant to look at it. I think it's a little bit overblown. Look, but the players don't like playing there. That's number one.
Right.
I mean, it's very clear. Now, the Giants and Jets players have to play that way, have to play that every year. So if you think about how many games they play there, and I think it was Diana Rossini put out the statistics for serious injuries. I'm talking really serious injuries.
Like season-ending injuries.
Yes, torn ACLs and things like that. It's actually lower than the league average, which shocked me, to be honest, because of the reputation. Now, Ed and I were talking about that yesterday, and he said, well, AJ got hurt and Jalen got hurt there, and Sidney did tear his ACL, so Sidney would be in that category. But the other injuries, we're not talking about that. Those are just, sprained ankles and things. In AJ's case, a sprained knee, which are devastating, was devastating going into the playoffs that year.
Right.
But not talking those types of injuries, but the really, really serious. So the ones like Sidney Brown, it's actually lower than the league average. But, the players hate it. They're putting in grass for the World Cup that's going to be there, and then they're taking it out.
Well, why? What is up with this? The NFL. I mean, we got these teams are, the lowest value team in football right now is probably worth $5 billion. They can't make a collective decision to make sure that they got great. Why does FIFA come here or whatever it is, the World Cup come here and put grass down? That is crazy to me that football doesn't.
Well, because
maybe they don't think it's a problem. Then that would be a different approach.
Because they're bidding for the process to host, and you have to acquiesce to win the bid.
Right, but if they're going to do that for them, wouldn't that show them, hey, we should have that for our guys as well?
Well, the argument is, remember, a lot of, and that's a public sort of stadium that is run by so you have the incompetence of government, certainly, and I can speak to that with New Jersey especially. So we
won't do that.
They keep up, and so that's the argument. They keep up, and it's just not feasible for them. But yeah, it's bullshit. Every stadium should have at this stage with the advancement, because you can even do it in domes now. They make enough money where the league should step in my opinion, but they're never going to do that. And say, even if it is just not more of a mental block than a real statistically proven block, players don't like playing there. And, if I'm the Maras and Woody Johnson, New York football has been in the dumper for a decade, as I mentioned, both teams. And that, think about that. New York, everybody, the league wants this team. The league wants this team. The league wants this team. The league loves the Chiefs. The league hates the Eagles. Everybody thinks in Philadelphia, even though they love the Eagles, which I thought
there might be no team that would benefit them more than New York.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I would just say fix it, and the league say, you know what, we're going to do this ourselves. But if it takes even a little bit away from the bottom line, they're not going to do that.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, let's talk real quick about yesterday. We're going to have Mike Gill coming up here. We'll have Brandon Lee Goutwin in hour number 2. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new. Drop your comments in the chat or on the video down below. I do want to remind everybody yesterday, for those who missed it, we had the great and the legendary Doug Peterson on in the afternoon show yesterday. That is pinned up on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, please go and watch Doug Peterson. I promise you, Eagles fans, it is worth your time.
Yeah, how was Doug? Doug?
He was excellent. He was excellent. He was really good. I mean, I love Doug, John. I'm used to listening to just, I don't know, Nick, and I'm not trying to pick on Nick, but I just love the way Doug speaks. He just comes off as so genuine to me. So it was a really good interview. He spoke about all sorts of different things, including the way his tenure ended here and all sorts of different stuff. So excellent interview, and appreciate everybody for watching that. John, yesterday, Jalen spoke, Patullo spoke.
Hey, real quick, I just want to, because I found it, I just want to interrupt for the MetLife stuff. currently ranked ninth best amongst NFL stadiums when it comes to minimizing lower extremity serious injuries last season. So it was actually ninth best. And there's not 32 stadiums because, you double up SoFi and MetLife, but well in the top half. So it is more of a PR problem than anything, but it's a legit PR problem. So sorry for interrupting you, but I was trying to find that because that had just came out last week, and it stunned me because of the reputation around the league, which is terrible. Nobody likes playing there.
Yep, no doubt. John, yesterday those guys spoke. What'd you make of the comments from Jalen? A lot of people were raving about Jalen's presser.
Yeah, and of course I missed it, waiting in the locker room. Because again, the short week, so everything's going on together. Kevin Patullo, you have this window, open locker room with Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts. So I wanted to get some of the ex-Giant guys, Adoree Jackson, who I got for a little bit. Azeez
I can't blame you for going open locker room over a Jalen presser.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And typically Jalen is Jalen, and he's going to be, he's going to be what he is and be very. And all of a sudden, he opens up a little bit, and I'm like, "Dad, that's a bad luck." But Ed was there, so we split it up. But, so evidently he was great. He got rave reviews. He got rave reviews from the reporters that were there. And I think that's a positive. And he's been better. To be fair, he's been better overall, I think, this season. But he really opened up a little bit more than I think he typically does.
Wonder why that was.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe he's just in a good mood.
Could be as simple as that. Maybe that meeting, John.
Maybe the big meeting.
Yeah,
which everybody downplayed is, acknowledged but downplayed. But yeah, I mean, the one question he got, he's been very good throwing against man this year versus zone, which is kind of different than it's been in the past. Been very good against the blitz, and then teams back off, and that's when he struggled when there's coverage. So gave a nice answer about that, which is atypical. But yeah, it was nice to see, I would say.
What about Kevin Patullo, John? I'll say, and I'm not trying to pick on Kevin, but I listened to his press conference. He must have said the words "kind of" 1,000 times in that press conference. I mean,
everybody. I mean, I don't.
I'm like, holy shit, Kevin, just speak a little bit. I don't know. I just don't feel like he's comfortable or confident when he speaks sometimes. But what'd you make of what he had to say? Obviously, a lot of pressure on Kevin Patullo so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, everybody uses as a crutch. I don't get on people for that. I mean, I've said from the start, Kevin's a heck of a lot better than most of the offensive coordinators have been in the past, just on the podium. The Kellen Moores, the Brian Johnsons, Shane Steichen. So, I mean, he's the best just from a podium, not saying job performance. So that I'm not going to criticize him for, but some interesting things. I mean, they did run a lot of RPRs and RPOs against Denver for some reason. Obviously, they won't say what they saw, but they saw something, which I thought was interesting because they haven't.
Right.
One of the reasons they had a lot of success with RPOs in 2022, when they went to the Super Bowl, and 2021. And then they sort of went away from it. And I think part of it is teams just getting better at handling it, and they started hitting the quarterbacks, which I've said in the past. But also the league, started calling it, when it came to illegal guys downfield, much more stringently. So that affected their process with it because, those 5-yard penalties, if you start leaking downfield, are difficult to overcome, to say the least. Especially
they were timely moments, man, in that Sunday game with the Birds.
Yeah.
Timely penalties, yeah.
So, and I heard this from Shane because the run pass thing was so out of whack, and so he did sort of at least explain some of that because they ran so many more RPOs than normal, I would say. And remember what an RPO is. It's a run pass option, or in their case, sometimes they call it an RPR because they have two options, Saquon and Jalen. And those, you go to the line of scrimmage, it might be a run, it might be a pass. And they ended up going heavily towards pass, obviously.
Right.
Instead of, and that's just about reading the player, and it should come naturally. But anyway, I thought that was the most interesting part because that's the best explanation I've heard of it. But also, you can, you can just throw the RPO if you see it getting that, unbalanced. You can just throw the RP option out of it and just say, all right, we call it traditional inside zone, traditional outside zone. So they had 6 of those RPOs, so that's 6 right away. And they had 4 3rd and longs he mentioned, which obviously are going to be obvious passing situations. So it ended up being 20 passes that were just situational football, as he described it, which, all right, I'll buy that. I can buy it. But again, that doesn't mean you can't shift in the moments. So basically he said 10 2-minute plays, which are obvious passing when you're trying to come back. 6 RPOs that turned into passes, and then the 4 3rd and longs, which are obvious pass. So that's 20 passes. And that's basically half of the allotments, which does make some sense. But again, when you're getting that unbalanced, it's not against the law to shift your thinking and say, all right, I'm going to take the option out of it.
Yeah, right.
And say, so I think it was good understanding for people that want to understand it. And I thought also that, well, then you have to shift. You have to shift your thinking if it's not going the way you had preferred.
Right, makes sense. Let's get to Mike Gill. Mike Gill's going to join us here on Birds 365. Dank Bird Gang puts in a super chat. He says, Sunday was an Andy Reid style run pass ratio day. That was out of whack.
Well, even Andy doesn't have them that bad. I mean, it was 44 dropbacks, I think, to 9 runs.
Yeah, that's egregious. No doubt about it. Let's get to Mike Gill. He joins us right now here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him at 97.3 ESPN down the shore, 97.5 The Fanatic up in Philly on the weekends. Mike, what's going on, brother? How you doing on this Wednesday morning? Plenty to talk about once again, Mike.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch going on. It was a very frustrating game to kind of watch, but most likely in the long run, probably good for this team. They probably needed something like this. You can't keep having this. They find a way to win. They find a way to win. They're finding ways to win that teams were kind of helping you find, drop passes, that kind of stuff. This was a kind of a wake-up call, possibly game for them that they probably needed somewhere along the line. Better now early than somewhere late in the year.
And then it helps to get right back on the field Thursday night, Mike, against the New York Football Giants. It couldn't have worked out better from the opponent's standpoint. I mean, the Giants are coming off a loss to the New Orleans Saints, who were in the conversation for being the worst team in football.
Yeah.
Over the first 4 weeks.
I'll tell you what, though, I think this game's a little tricky in that the Giants do have a very sneaky, good defense. They're very good up front. They can get to the quarterback. So if you put together a lousy game plan for them, just like the Chargers, they can snag you. I mean, I don't think that they're obviously one of the worst teams in the league, but they are very good up front. They've got good safety play. Their offense is just atrocious. So, but in terms of trying to get your offense right, this could be a sneaky, tough week for you on a short week trying to figure them out.
from my perspective, I think that's been the most disappointing part of the Giants is the defense hasn't been that good.
Yeah, I agree.
And consistently bad, and like all across. They're 26th. I'm just looking at it, 26th in total defense. Again, small sample size still, but we can only look at what we look at. 26th in total defense, 26th against the run, 25th against the pass, 22nd points per game. Third down defense is 24th. Fourth down defense is 31st. The only thing they're above average is red zone defense in the condensed area, where they're 11th. And to your point, it looks good up front, but other than Brian Burns, nobody's getting home.
No, but you're banged up front. You've got some problems up front, and they have talent up front that you're waiting for. This could be one of those weeks where, hey, it looks like Dickerson obviously is not going to play. So how does that spot affect this game?
Yeah, and Dexter Lawrence is there, and he has no sacks. So Sexy Dexy, as he likes to call himself.
Yeah, just like a short week. The one area of their defense, when you look at them, that you think has the most talent is their defensive line. Your offensive line, which you usually look at every time when you go into a game, and the other team's best asset is their pass rush, you feel like the Eagles' offensive line can neutralize what they do. You no longer feel that way. You gave up really 4 sacks last week, but 6 in all, because your line is just not the same, where you just walk in and it's a fait accompli that we're going to dominate you up front. That has not been happening. And for the Giants to get themselves on a short week, their defensive line might say, hey, this could be a week where, normally you don't think that against the Eagles. That's why this is an interesting, where we are in the season is normally in the year that they went 2-5, they just turned it over to their offensive line, and that carried them the rest of the way. Right. They were able to hide their warts because of their offensive line. Now, their offensive line is part of the wart that is affecting this offense in totality.
Mike, what'd you make of the I agree, but by the way, with the Giants, what did you make of the offense in week 5 where we just lost, where they come out, they throw the ball, and then they have this meeting this week with Jalen and AJ and Saquon? Maybe that's the fix-all. What do you make of the latest on the offense and the development of the offense this year?
Well, I mean, the numbers are just awful. Saquon Barkley, 6 carries for 30 yards. It's the fewest carries he's had with the Eagles. I mean, it feels like he's back on the Giants here. 45 rushing yards, fewest in the game. Forget Saquon Barkley. It's the fewest they had in a game since 2018, and it's the 3rd week in a row they haven't rushed for 100 yards. Sometimes in the game, you have Barkley and Hurts have 8 total carries in the game. 8. Yeah. They would run one series and get 8 carries, sometimes those two guys. And that's where it's frustrating. It's 17-3 in the final quarter of the game. That game's over last year. The game's over because you couldn't get them off the field. They go 3 and out almost 50% of their possession.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
It's pathetic. With this group of, I don't care if your offensive line is me, John, you, your dad, and somebody else. With this group of skill players, if you can't get a first down, come on. I don't get how this is so hard to just get a little bit of offensive rhythm here with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Those 2 guys there, you shouldn't have the problems we constantly talk about. And then you mix in what you have with Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. And, oh, by the way, the Shipley kid's a nice little asset. A.J. Dillon has given you a little something. And you're supposed to have one of the best quarterbacks in football. And you can't get a first down 50% of the time. And by the way, we're not talking about a first down. We're talking about 3 and out. 3 plays and out. And these aren't – you're not getting 8 yards. You're getting no yards. The fact that they couldn't even get into push position. And – like, are you talking about an offense?
Yeah, the tush push, that's interesting. The tush push has gotten, hasn't been that big of a deal to pay there because they haven't even gotten in position.
And get into it. And are we talking about an offense with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts as the only play that you trust is a play that you get 1 yard on? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I feel like I get it. This is what they do. Fine. But what you did last year was you did it successfully. You did it explosively. You got a play and you saw a 70-yard breaker, a 50-yard breaker. You saw the fruits of the labor of trying to, that's not happening right now. And they need to figure this out because now teams are looking at you. Denver comes into your building. It's one thing you go to Denver. Okay, maybe it's high altitude. You run out of gas. The defense is on the field. You lost on the road against a solid team. You lost at home with a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter. Not good. Not good.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest point of, I always, and Zander can stipulate this. He knows. I hate the run-pass ratio question. You know it too. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say,
right.
and 99% of the time I'm right. I always say, tell me the score in the fourth quarter, and I'll tell you the run-pass ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were ahead for the vast majority of that game, as you mentioned, and not a large part, but for a significant amount of time, up by 2 touchdowns, and they're still throwing the ball. It was bizarre.
17-3. You're up 17-3 in the second half of that game, and you're throwing the ball all over the yard, going
bizarre.
It
looked like you're trying. Mike, to me, it looked like, and Nick has denied this, and obviously, they were trying to acquiesce somebody. Whether it was the outside voices, the Drew Brees, the boring offense, the conservative, or inside with AJ and Devontae. They were trying to acquiesce somebody by the way they played. They were trying to prove something rather than winning the game. That's how it came across to me.
Sure. I agree. We actually, so our morning show, they were talking about this in the morning. They said if Twitter didn't exist, the Eagles would have won that game. Essentially,
probably.
Like if AJ Brown doesn't get the pop off on Twitter and put his thoughts out there, this is never addressed, and the Eagles probably don't listen to that noise, and they end up winning that game. But I agree wholeheartedly that they felt like they had to get those 2 receivers because they're, obviously many people have talked about it, but then Diana Rossini's report in the morning, that gets out there.
Yeah, then it becomes real. Like I can say it. I can say it. A bunch of us can say it. And then Diana says it. And it's like, it's real.
Right. Because once AJ Brown, this happens all the time. Once you throw Devontae's name into it as well, now it feels like this is starting to spread a little bit. And the way that it's worded is they're frustrated specifically with their red zone touches, so it's like, really?
And by the way, that's awful.
Right. You score a touchdown every time you've been in the red zone this year. Every time, 11 for 11. And that's what you're complaining about? Yeah. Like, okay, I get it between the hashes if you're saying, hey, we got to do a bet. But I don't know. The thing is pointing to, and listen, you would think you would come out. You're up. You got a 17-3 lead. You would think you could close that game out at home if you are as good as you think you are. And I think that was a punch in the gut to say you're not as good as you think you are, because like Denver's, they come into your building and they say, we're not afraid of you. We don't think we can go toe to toe with you. And they did. And they not only went toe to toe, they beat you.
Yeah. The most crazy stat to me, and obviously offenses aren't going to hum at all cylinders all year, but that 3-and-out number is just insane. It's 47. Zach Berman put this up. It's 47.2%. All right. Number 2 is Tennessee and Cincinnati. The Eagles lead the NFL in 3-and-outs. And it's only been 5 games, but listen to this stat. No team has had a worse 3-and-out percentage since 2005. And in 2005, it was the 49ers who went 4-12 that year. Like, I don't get where do you guys think the problem lies on that part of it specifically? You're not going to score points every game. You might have some problems in the passing game here and there. 50% 3-and-outs?
Okay,
it's crazy.
You're up 17-3. No one's saying you have to score points, but generally you could get first downs and run that clock down so that Denver doesn't have a chance to get back into the game. Give me a 7-play drive, kick it down the other end of the field, and make them flip the field. You can't even do that. The ineptitude to not be able to get 1 first down is alarming. Not to mention, in the second half of that game, we're talking about the offense exclusively pretty much, but you got Bo Nix in the game. The guy was nearly flawless in the fourth, 9 of 12 for 127 yards in the fourth quarter. and he was absolutely perfect on every ball over 20 yards, 4 for 4. They couldn't get a stop either. So the defense gets a little bit of, but I know they were on the field all day long, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're supposed to be this great defense that the team can lean on, even in a game that you're trying to run out.
Cortland Sutton, baby. Cortland Sutton.
Right. But you're trying to run that game out. We're not even saying, hey, why couldn't you score more points? We're just saying, why couldn't you get the clock rolling more and have a 17-3 lead? They couldn't do that because they couldn't get a stop either in that game. And look, that Denver offense, you mentioned Cortland Sutton, good player, Bo Nix, young, exciting player. That's not a good offense. I mean, that offense is not great. And you couldn't get a stop on that team.
No. They're running the ball at 5.7 a clip, Mike. They kind of remind me of the old of the 21 Eagles. Running the ball well. They got a young quarterback.
Well, I'm telling you, say running the ball well. They had
great offensive line and a great defensive line. You know, they kind of beat us at our own game, man.
They do. Well, they have a good offensive line, but they had their first 100-yard rusher in like 5 years the other night. So it's the first time they kind of got their run game going. So yeah, their offense, like I said, their offense is good, but it's not like this dynamic, high-flying offense that you shouldn't be able to get one stop on your home turf when you need it. I get it every week to ask the defense to constantly get that stop, but you would think in the fourth quarter when you need one stop, they just need one stop. That's it. Get off the field, and they couldn't get it done.
Well, I did want to talk about the defense, but I just want to wrap up one thing with the offense because, to the uniqueness of this team and Zander putting out the third down numbers, which are true. The 3-and-out numbers are egregious. What's crazy, then you take it further. So they're the 3-and-outs are unbelievable, but when they get that first down, they are the most efficient offensive team in football to the point of the red zone numbers. Like their efficiency numbers when they get a first down are insane. It's like, their offense, they're 30th in total offense. They're first in red zone offense. How do you explain that? Usually if you have a bad offense, you have a bad offense. When they get that first down, they're always scoring.
Yeah.
It's incredibly, like you said, Mike, get that 7-play drive. Well, it's either they get nothing or they get everything. It is I've never seen anything like it.
Right. And if you say you've never seen anything like it, I don't think that anybody can give you a legitimate reason why. It is perplexing as to what is going on with this offense. And I go back to a lot of it seemingly is you were able to call any play in the bag because of your offensive line. And now you really can't. And that doesn't mean it's all the time. Because the line is still talented. Mailata and Lane are still very good. Steen has been okay. I think he's been a drop-off in the run game to Becton. And then obviously the two guys at center and left guard are not the same players that they were a year ago. But at times, they can be those players, just not consistently enough. So I think that's where you get the inconsistencies that sometimes those guys do play at a higher level. And look, the line has had a lot of changes and movements. Sometimes you have all five. Then Steen goes out and Pryor comes in. And then Dickerson goes out and here comes Brett Toth. And then Lane goes out. And then here comes, Pryor the first game. Then Fred Johnson came in for him. So the consistency of that line, you're getting a taste of what many of these teams go through. We talk about it all the time. If you don't have an offensive line, Minnesota's had Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook and, Adam Thielen. And you're like, why does this team stink? Well, they can't block. That's why they have great skill players, but they can't block. And I think the Eagles are getting a little taste of what these teams go through when they just can't consistently block. Now, the Eagles, as inconsistent as they've been, are still better than most. But now you're getting a team that was a good offensive team, not a great offensive team. This should be a great offensive team with all the parts. They're a good offensive team, not great. Well, now they're a very average offensive team because their line is making them average.
Real quick, Mike, what'd you make of the meeting? Because what
was that?
The meeting, the meeting that was reported that Saquon, AJ, and Jalen had. Like, I'm originally thinking about it, and me and John talked about it at length yesterday. I don't want to get too bogged down into it, but I don't think it was about the offense. I mean, you have a meeting with Saquon, AJ, and Jalen. No Nick, no Kevin, no offensive lineman, no Devontae Smith, no Dallas Scott. That wasn't about the offense. I mean, what'd you make of that meeting yesterday that was reported? AJ,
and
Saquon.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, him being asked about it yesterday and him kind of just saying, we're going to keep that in there. Saquon, similar thing. It seems that I would agree that this was more about, hey guys, like we have a chance here and we're letting it slip away, right?
Mhm.
We're letting whatever differences we may have interfere with what is a chance to be a great team. And you hope that that's the way that the meeting went. But that's
Right.
kind of the read I get
Certainly
here
hope that. Yep.
is that we have a chance, and it's up to us guys right here to make sure that this doesn't slip away because everybody else is seemingly doing their job. It's the problems that we're having that is splitting this team up, and it's not fair to the rest of the team. So let's get our act together. That's where you hope that this thing went. And seemingly the way they talked about it, instead of saying, hey, we just know we have a great offense and we just got to get on this, because the word get on the same page kept coming out last week. And it seems to get on the same page might be more off the field than, and listen, they need to get on the same page on the field too. I mean, although, in the first half of these games, they're throwing the ball and they're having success, right? I mean, the targets are there, the catches are there. This week, Devontae got targets, catches, yards. I mean, he can't complain with the game that he ended up with. But I would imagine that had to do more with, guys, we're letting our differences off the field start to infiltrate on into this locker room, and it's affecting everybody.
All right. Now, I don't know if people are ready for this conversation, but I'm going to throw it out there. As the world turns, the soap opera nature of the offense has, I think, let the defense skate through. I thought that game was developing exactly the way I thought it would at 17-3. Basically, a young quarterback was clueless. He didn't know what he was seeing. He wasn't comfortable. He wasn't playing well. And then you get to the fourth quarter, as you mentioned, Mike. And I think Sean Payton, to his credit, said, you know what? We're just gonna throw back shoulders, and we're just gonna do this, and we're gonna do that with Cortland Sutton. And he dominated the game. And very good player, but let's be honest, he's not Jamar Chase. But what he is a big physical guy. And that was probably the worst game, at least that I can remember, that Quinyon Mitchell has played in a long time. And Vic got these questions yesterday, and it's like, he's traveling a lot more than we thought he would. And he's traveling against Cortland Sutton, and it bit the Eagles. According to PFF, he was the worst graded defensive player in the game. When's the last time you heard that? Except for Byron Young, who played like 15 snaps, so I don't count that. And he also got hurt. Cortland Sutton went completely off in the fourth quarter. We asked, is there too much on the plate right now? Vic said, no, I don't think so. It's just a rare miscalculation from Vic Fangio.
It's funny because Bo Nix, the first 3 quarters of the game, went 1 for 10, 20 yards passing on throws 20 or more, 10 or more yards down the field. So they had him figured out and completely shut down in the first 3 quarters of the game. He went 4 for 4 for 82 yards on throws of 10 or more in the fourth quarter. So again, does this go back to the defense is just being asked to do too much? They're on the field too much, or was there, as you said, they're asking Quinyon to do too much? I don't know that it's that. I mean, because obviously early in that game, they had Bo Nix in this offense. They had 3 points in half. So I would have leaned more on the fact that you're just asking the defense 2 weeks in a row now to do a whole heck of a lot before we start getting concerned that Quinyon Mitchell has too much on his plate, because he's kind of
the only reason I go that direction is because
fair question though.
In those first 3 quarters, they weren't throwing the back shoulder stuff. They were trying to run a typical offense. It seemed like Sean Payton said, all right, this ain't working, so I'm just going to go guy against guy, physical against bigger guy against smaller guy. And you just saw some of those 50-50 balls, and Cortland was turning them into, like AJ does when he's going well, they were 80-20 balls. And they were going Cortland's way. So the numbers were 7 targets, 5 completions, 77 yards. I believe 4 of those were in the fourth quarter. which is not typical of the numbers that Quinyon usually gives up.
Yeah.
So, what they do well is what they did well last year was a lot of quarters coverage, a lot of cover 3. This year it's been more cover 1 because they feel they have that corner that can do that. And it's been great until Sunday.
Yep.
I don't know. Is it just, hey, Sean Payton adjusted, Vic didn't? Rarely do I say maybe somebody got the better of Vic, but I think somebody got the better of Vic.
Yeah, well, you just said it. They were not doing what they were doing for 3 quarters. And then I think Sean Payton, who, listen, won a Super Bowl and sometimes can flip it on and be a very aggressive play caller. I think he's at that point in this game where he says, dude, we're on the road. What the hell? Let's just go for this thing. We have a shot. We have them on the ropes. Let's get aggressive here. And you saw a team really get aggressive late in that game. And they're just, they were in their bag. He was calling everything, hitting everything kind of perfectly there. And the Eagles, you could tell they were on their heels. And we're like, whoa, we weren't expecting you guys to come at us like this after what you did. You kind of lulled. It was like the rope-a-dope, right? They lulled the Eagles defense to sleep for 3 rounds, 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're just going to pull it out and go right after you. So there could have been a little bit of a late adjustment from Vic Fangio. There's no question about that, that it could have. You could look at Vic and say, hey, for 1 week, the other guy got the better of you. Now, you say for 1 week, Vic has been around the league. It's not like he wins a Super Bowl every single year. This guy's not infallible.
Yeah.
We always act. I know it's like Jeff Stoutland. We have Jeff Stoutland University, and that every lineman that goes in there is just the best offensive lineman. Doesn't matter where you drafted him, where you found him, what college he went to. You go to Stoutland, and he's going to be awesome. Well, that's not happening right now. He's the run game coordinator. This run game stinks right now. So, these guys who have been a staple of your success are certainly now, you have long resumes of film when you coach as long as these guys do. And some of these guys are just saying, look what this team constantly does. Look what they do so well. And a lot of teams can't stop it until finally someone cracks the code and says, I see what Philadelphia does well. I got something. And then when someone does something well to stop you, everybody else says, look what they did. Let's see if we can implement that. And then the chess game keeps flipping and flipping. The Eagles need to now move a piece because teams are saying, what you did last year, you are not doing on us this year.
How much of that is on the offense, though, with the defense? I mean, you lead the league in 3 and outs. How hard is it going to be for your defense?
That's what I was saying about the Quinyon thing. I mean, I hate to be like, well, your defense is on the field all day, but in your 3 and out you're not even getting a 5-play drive. You are constantly off the field within, a minute and 20 seconds. You're flipping the ball right back over. And that was a part, like they're getting, you look at, John, I know we always talk about sacks aren't the number. You're not even getting pressures. You're barely getting near the guy. You're letting him get into position to throw the ball back shoulder where he wants to because he doesn't have to worry about getting it out of his hands so fast. He's saying, look, I can take my time, step in, and throw the ball where I want to throw it to make let my receiver make a play. So you're not helping the secondary either. This is a dance here. You get the pressure to make the quarterback rush the throw so that I can make a play in the secondary. Well, if that's not happening, the quarterback gets a chance to throw the ball where he wants to so that the receiver can make the play. And then the defensive back is always at the deficiency at that point, because they don't want to get called for pass interference. And Quinyon has been a little handsy. I mean, he's a grabber. He got called one in the end zone this week, right?
Yeah.
He's
and that was against Cortland, by the way. That was against Cortland Sutton.
So, and look, Quinyon's been awesome, and we'll certainly look back at this and say, hey, was this just a 1-week thing? But I think teams are now going to say, is that a play that we could run against Philadelphia and Mitchell that we generally don't want to go his way? Maybe now there's a way we can.
Yeah, I think the officials are a big deal when it comes to Quinyon because he has gotten very handsy in Tampa Bay. Man. They were I compare it to home plate umpires, so baseball playoffs. Sometimes you got the large strike zone, sometimes you got a smaller one. Craig Maddox was the best ever at that. Keep pushing it. If they're giving you an inch outside, go 2 inches outside. Figure out where he's going to go and use that to your advantage. in Tampa Bay, he was grabbing the jersey, and they were letting it go. And he was had a phenomenal game. 5 pass breakups, all that, and they called it when he grabbed the jersey in the end zone. They called it. So it's almost like that home plate umpire. You got to have a feel for it and say, all right, I can get away with this today.
Well, I'll tell you this. It's hard to get a feel on these NFL refs. I mean, they are bad. It's tough to figure out what they are going to call, not call. Because if you are showing film and you show that Goddard play, you would say, hey, defensive back,
the Eagles,
this is a play that we don't want you to emulate this.
The Eagles have a Saturday meeting, not this week because they're playing on Thursday, which bullshit, as I started the show with, but they have a Saturday meeting every week for a Sunday game, and they talk about the crew and what they do. They study that stuff. Yeah. So each crew has sort of a what they do, like a pitcher. They call a lot of illegal men downfields. They call a lot of pass interference. They study that stuff. So there is something to that. There's no question. I did want to. The pass rush is interesting to me because you had mentioned. I think that's the narrative that it stunk. I was just looking at because Vic doesn't think it stinks, but they haven't gotten the sacks yet. I think it's PFF has them as number 5 best pass rushing team in football right now. Only Cleveland with Miles, Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson, Houston with Donnell Hunter and Will Anderson, Green Bay with Micah Parsons, and then the Eagles. And Jalen Carter, who clearly is not healthy, obviously, and dealing with the shoulder, and he hasn't had a sack yet this year. He's got the second most quarterback hits among NFL defensive tackles this season, behind only Jeffrey Simmons. I don't think the pass rush is has been as bad as people think it is. They're just not getting the sacks yet. But I do think the pressures are there, and they're affecting quarterbacks.
They might be there early in the game. I would agree. Late in that game, when Denver needed to get back in the game,
and that might speak to the 3 and outs more.
Exactly. But the beginning of that game, your defense is dominating the game. Yeah, you're getting pressure. You're causing. What I say, Knicks was in the first 3 quarters 1 for 12. I mean, so yes, your defense was getting pressures and getting hurries. But as that game went on, and you needed a stop, that's when that and that could go back to the other point is. Were you on the field too much? 3 and outs. You're constantly asking your defense to make a stop. You can't make a stop all day, every day against good quality teams. Look, Denver's a good quality team. They made the playoffs last year. Some people look at Denver because they just don't have, they're one of those teams that just doesn't have a high-profile, well-known star on their team that you think of. But, you mentioned Sutton. He's a really good wide receiver. Nix is in his second year, so it's hard to kind of figure out what kind of player he is at this point. Their offensive line's really good. So when you have a team that their offensive line is really good and they don't have a star running back or a star receiver, they're a hard team to kind of figure out of where they are. But this team won 10 games last year. I actually think right now – They might win that division. I mean, you got the Chargers with some injury issues on their offensive line. The Chiefs just don't seem to be right. This Denver team with the win like that could be the win that propels them to overtake everybody in this West. I think right now them and the Chargers are tied, but I think the Denver Broncos might win that division.
Yeah, that's going to be a dogfight. I picked the Chargers, but that was before.
I think at the beginning of the year, we all thought the Chargers were the team that could take the Chiefs over.
And they looked good the first couple games. The Chargers, they looked like they were going to do it.
The Chargers have the problems the Eagles have. Their 2 tackles are out, and they can't block. They cannot get anything going offensively.
And they have 2 very good tackles.
Yeah, their 2 tackles are out, and they can't block.
The drop off. Slater and Joe Alt, those are their 2 tackles.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and the drop off is precipitous, and they're having problems moving. You lose to the Giants, you got problems. And look, if the Eagles back themselves into losing to the Giants, wait till you hear the narrative on Friday.
Oh, yeah, that would be. The Giants are similar, though.
2 claps and a Ric Flair on Friday.
Yeah. So with the Giants, they have the big reputation with their, because you look at the names on the pass rush. Other than Burns, nobody's getting home for the most part. But
they do have talent up front.
Yeah, Abdul Carter has 22 pressures this season, which is pretty good. He
right,
just
and
hasn't
that's they're similar to the Eagles, where you have talent, you're not getting sacks, so the perception is, what's your pass rush like? And even if their pass rush numbers, blah blah blah, they have young talent up there that maybe just Carter. You're still waiting on Thibodeau to be the player that he was. So that's obviously you're still waiting on that. But you put all those guys together, and you got to figure out.
Plus, you're going against Dexter Lawrence without Landon Dickerson,
right? And look, let's be honest. Juergens is not the same player that he was a year ago at this point. He's admitted it, that I'm not all the way back yet.
Yeah. No, definitely. Hey, Zander can tell you, if I'm pointing to one thing, and it's never one thing, but if I'm pointing to the biggest issue with offense, the offensive line has gone from historic to just good. I'm not going to say they've been bad, because comparatively speaking to the rest of the NFL, you just mentioned some of the problems around the league. Yeah. They're still better than most. But last year, they had one of the best offensive lines in NFL history. No hyperbole. In NFL history. This year, they're just
absolutely
a run-of-the-mill good offensive line.
The offensive line last year, you're right, was historically great. That line was almost infallible. I mean, they just, from left to right, you had the one blip when Mailata went out for a couple of weeks there. But other than that, you essentially were healthy almost the entire season. And ironically, until the playoffs, you lost Juergens in the playoffs. But you had full health of all five guys working in unison all season long with uber talent. And now you've got two of those guys, three kind of when you put Lane. He's missed parts of 2 games where you've had to play without him. And whenever you play without Lane, that generally hasn't gone well. And ironically, the one game you came back in was the game that Lane went out. But to not have all 5 guys working in unison, healthy, you're seeing the effects of that right now. That said, to score 17 points with the talent you have on this offensive side of the ball is dog shit. So,
yeah,
it is.
I don't know how you look at yourself after the game and say, I'm the guy calling the plays, and I only scored 17 points with this group of guys.
You were the first one to bring it up, Mike. So I'll give you credit. But I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe this offense isn't as good as we think it is.
In what way? Because I think we all think AJ's extremely talented, very good. Devontae, somebody said, I got all these people, buddies texting me, they got to get rid of AJ. He's a cancer. You got to trade. People want to trade this guy. And I'm like, what the? But they think that Devontae could be the lead guy by himself if you got, he was the lead guy when he was a rookie, and that didn't go so well. But if you had a different number 2 that's a higher profile guy, could Devontae, and I said, dude, you got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. If you get those guys, you don't look for ways to get rid of them. You look for ways for them to be studs every single week. Now,
sometimes it runs its course. I mean, the Chiefs got rid of Tyreek Hill, and at the time, he was one of the best receivers in football. They went on to win 2 Super Bowls.
They also had Patrick Mahomes.
Well, that's true. I'm not advocating to get rid of AJ.
I'm not. This isn't like
the first time.
Right. This isn't like
we just said last year, right? They had a historic offensive line, obviously the best rushing season in NFL history by a running back, literally in 2,504 yards. And they had the eighth ranked offense in the NFL. With that,
I think what they're trying to kind of balance right now is how can we morph from being a team that had a 2,000-yard rusher into something different? Because obviously that's not you're not getting a 2,000-yard rusher. So you've got to get yourself kind of out of that mode. But they're saying, well, this is how we won and we're successful with all this over here. Well, you're not getting this over here. So now you got to start swinging it the other way, but not forget about this. So they went from this. Then they flipped over here and forgot about this. You got to get, like John, you talk about all the time, you got to get somewhere here until the game is in hand, and then you go back this way. Right. Once I have the game in hand, now I go back here. But I got to do both to get the game in hand. Last year, they were able to do one to get the game in hand. And then generally when they needed to, when someone took this away every now and then, they could flip over to this one. But now they're saying, you can't do this. We're not giving you this. And you're not finding this. You're not finding this middle ground.
All I'm saying is this is the greatest stretch of Eagles football in history, certainly in the modern era. They have had a top 5 offense once in this stretch, and that was the 2022 season. And the difference to me is obvious. That was Jalen Hurts' best season. So to get back to being a top 5 offense, you have to get back to 2022 Jalen Hurts.
Which included a lot of him taking off in designed runs, and those are virtually gone.
Yeah, I wonder if they don't know what the North Star is yet this year. Like last year, week 4, they switched and they're like, we're going to run the ball. This is what we want to be. And then they optimized for that. It's like, if that's not working this year, what are they trying to become? What is the goal
That's been the talk from a lot of people is the offense is yet to find their identity, because I think they're trying to identify with the team from last year, but that isn't working. So they're now trying to figure out, what are we if we aren't the team that ran for 2,000 yards last year? And they're having a hard time kind of, it's like you're trying to thread the needle on, are we this running team? But we have these 2 guys that are really good in the passing game. Right. And then, and then we have a quarterback who's like very abnormal to, well, if Joe Burrow's here, I can throw the ball 45 times and we can get away with that. We don't really have a guy that we really want to throw the ball 45 times, even though we have the receiver talent to throw the ball 45 times. That's where this team is really hard to find an identity, because of the immense talent they have at running back, wide receiver. And we all throw the quarterback in this list. We want him to be on this list of the top. But he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not the guy that's going to throw the ball Joe Burrow 45. He's a different type of top-end talent, that he has the ability to win games, clutch, makes big throws in big moments. But you don't want him to throw the ball 45 times, and that's where you're trying to thread a needle of, what are we? And I think that's what makes it so difficult.
And by the way, 125 plus passes, 0 interceptions. He's at 280 consecutive passes without an interception. That is the 11th longest streak in NFL history.
By the way, in 2022, Jalen ran the ball 165 times for 760 yards. That number has gone down and down and down the last couple of years. So you go back to that 2022 year, he added another layer to the offense that is not currently here.
Yeah, that's fair. At Mike Gill Show. Make sure you follow Mike on the X platform, at Mike Gill Show on YouTube as well. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. You're going to have a Phillies watch along today. How's that? Or you're on the air. What time is that game?
No, the Phillies game's at 9.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a late game. That's right.
So tomorrow, if the Phillies win, it will be a 6 o'clock game. Yes, we'll be at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City for the 6 o'clock Phillies game into the 8:20 Eagles game. So we'll have one right into the other. Should be
nice.
Pretty.
Well, hey, you got to win one to get to that one. So yep. I need 2 predictions on your way out. That the Phillies get to a game 4, and to the New York Giants shock the world with Jackson Dart and Wan'Dale Robinson and Cam Scatterby.
Well, last week, so far I've picked the Dodgers in both games, and I said the Dodgers would sweep the Phillies, so I'm probably not going to get off of that, although this would be the game with Nola, and everybody's pissed off that you're using Nola over Ranger, and Nola shoves it up everybody's keister and says, You didn't want me? Well, I'm the guy to save your season. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm going to take the Dodgers. The Dodgers pitching is just – this Phillies lineup is pedestrian when it comes to big game. You know what? You hear about – the batting. This guy pitching, well, you hit 305. What's going on? Or he hit 56 homers. How many of those 56 homers against some pitcher who has no business being in the league? That's why these regular season numbers are so hard. What was your batting average against playoff level pitching? Not against the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Kansas City Royals. or these teams.
Exactly.
I want to know your batting averages and your numbers against playoff quality, and you're seeing it right now. You can't hit these guys. That said, I like the Dodgers tonight to sweep. I like the Eagles to beat the Giants. I think it'll be another ugly game, though. I don't think you're going to get one of these nights where everything's good. I think you're still going to be looking back and saying something. They won the game, but something's still not right. Something like, I don't know. The Giants are so bad. You probably 24-6, 24-10, something like that.
I like it. Yeah, they are bad. They are a bad football team. I don't know how Brian Daboll survives this.
Not a big
I've
Dart
said that for a
fan
couple
either.
years.
I'm not a big Dart guy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I think Dart. Although he's one of them guys that runs around. He can.
Yeah,
make
he's
plays with his
mobile.
legs.
So
Yeah.
Vic made a big deal because he had to make a big deal about something about the gun runs. Can't throw the ball. I mean,
yeah.
That makes it easy for you. So
And they have no weapons without neighbors,
No.
and their line stinks. I mean, so they got a lot going against them.
Yeah, to say the least. All
Mike,
right, I lied. One more. Yankees get it to Game 5. Yes or no?
Yes.
I would think so. After the way they came back last night, I think they got a little mo going, and the Blue Jays look like they saw a ghost at the end of that game.
They did.
Looked completely out of it.
That was a good game to watch last night. Mike, good stuff.
I'll tell you who's rooting for the Yankees. Fox.
Yeah, that's true too.
You don't want a Blue Jay Mariner ALCS or a Blue Jay.
That's brutal. That's a good
Blue
point.
Jay Tiger ALCS.
That's true.
I don't know.
Man.
Are they on Fox or TBS? The ALCS, or no? It goes every night. It's back on. It's on.
I know it's on FS1 now, which is
well.
brutal.
These games last night. The one game was on
14,
FS2.
I think 14 homes in the country have FS2. What's going on with baseball? Come on, get that ironed out. But,
what was Fox airing last night that the Yankee game couldn't be
I
on
know.
the main Fox?
It's absurd. But anyway, I digress. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Brother, appreciate it.
See ya.
Right, Mike Gill joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Mike Gill here on the show. John, I wanted to talk to you about that real quick. I know we did it a little bit off the air, but that is the one team you remain a fan of, the Yankees. That was a big moment for Aaron Judge last night to tie that ball game at 6 when I thought they were down and out.
All hope was lost. 6-1. Carlos Rodon doesn't show up. Their starting pitching has been brutal in this series. 3 consecutive poor starts and big time pitchers too. With the exception of Luis Hill was injured, but now they got Cam Schlitter going. He was the guy who shut down the Red Sox in Game 3, so he's the rookie. You never know with rookies; he's got great stuff. But that Blue Jays lineup is legit. They are tough to deal with. Vlad's having a tremendous series. Aaron Judge hit the. Yeah, they saw the ghost as soon as he hit that 3-run homer. That was kind of like the moments where I always reference the Eagles-Vikings NFC Championship game with Chris Long and Patrick Robinson. That's when I saw them literally steal the heart of a team. That might have happened last night with that home run. Just ripped the heart out. But we'll see. Baseball's a little bit different because, hey, you got to play more than one game. And the old adage in baseball is momentum is only as good as next day's starting pitcher.
Exactly. So true, man. So true. Going to be a good one. John, real quick, an update here on the Giants game. We talked about this in the open. Jeremy Fowler just put out Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton is not expected to play Thursday versus the Eagles. Hamstring on a short week is tough. Will be out barring a surprising uptick. So we talked about him in the open. John, who are they throwing to now? Wan'Dale
Robinson. Yeah.
Hyatt and Bo Collins. That can't be good for Jackson.
Well, that might be a situation where it works out for you because I was looking at their team. I got to pull it up. Slayton is currently PFF gave him he's 123 of 125.
Wow.
So he's playing bad football. So, if you go to Jalen Wyatt or you go to the young kid Bo Collins, could it be much worse? I would almost guarantee it's a little bit better. And sometimes when you're forced to do some of those things, it works out for you.
Yeah,
But I mean, they're terrible.
yeah, it's a
And
bleak outlook, no doubt.
yeah. But Darius Slayton was not playing well, so I don't think it's going to hurt him much. But the bottom line is Jackson Dart is not ready to play, and
Would anybody be ready to play with that offensive line? That's the truth of the matter. I know.
Well, that's true. I would have kept Russell in there because you have the chance, and it's probably going to remain ugly. But that I bring up that Dallas game. At least he can do some things that if everything is clicking. I would have hung that on if I were Brian Daboll, because also from their standpoint, just from a selfish standpoint, I mean, they're coaching. And I'm talking Joe Shane, coaching and GMing for their jobs. Yeah. And the more you expose just how unready Jackson Dart is, the worse it is for you. At least if you keep them under wraps.
It's one of the weird parts, though, John, where the business intersects and just messes up the football. Because, if, for example, and I'm not saying they deserve it. I don't think they do. But if Daboll and Schoen know that they were going to be here next year no matter what, Jackson Dart wouldn't be in the game right now. They would put him on the bench. They would keep developing him that way, and then they would put him in next year. But they know if they don't get it going this year, they're cooked. So they rush them in with a bad offensive line, and that might hurt them. But we'll see. We got a couple super chats. We'll get to right in the bench. Checks in. What's up, brother? He says, I wonder if they'd make the PI call if it weren't at the 2-yard line, potentially winning the game on the QB sneak, prob not what the league would like. I actually do think that's kind of.
They did it in Jacksonville. I mean, the Jacksonville won the game on a PI, but it was a legit PI, and that's probably PI, but it's not as egregious as the Jacksonville one. But anybody who watches it, I don't complain about officials.
No, I know you don't complain about them, and it all evens itself out. But you do admit that there is certain different games have a different, it can fluctuate.
Of course, on a game. They're human beings. But my point is, there's always calls that go both ways.
I agree, but certain games can have different. I mean, there can be different impact on different games.
Well, of course, if you're talking about the second to last play of the game, or you're putting a team on the 1-yard line with with one play to win it or 2 plays to win it, obviously that has a bigger impact than a personal foul in the second quarter, which you have more of a chance to overcome. But and to Nick Sirianni's credit and Vic Fangio's credit, they both said the same thing. And they don't blame it. That they called a bunch of penalties in that game, 21, 12 of them were on Denver, and over twice as much penalty yardage was on Denver. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to people and say, oh, they didn't want to give the Eagles the ball on the 1-yard line. If it was as egregious as Kansas City against Jacksonville, they would have put them on the 1-yard line. But if it's not that egregious, they're probably not going to put any team on the 1-yard line in that situation, or most guys. And everybody's different.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not trying to blame them. I'm just saying that was a shit call. I mean, they wrecked God. He was on the ground with the ball around. I don't know, whatever. Zeal says, pressures are a stat that nerds like Reuben Frank use to defend mediocre players like Mike Mamula. The Giants didn't draft Abdul Carter to get pressures. 22 pressures and a half sack equals he can't get home.
Well, he's played 5 NFL games, so I wouldn't use declarative statements on Abdul Carter. Look, you can call people nerds or whatever. You can insult Rube. Feel free. I don't care. But anyway, you can assault me. You can assault anything. When it's good for your team, you're going to highlight it. When it's not good for your team, you're going to highlight it. Listen to Vic Fangio. Your team doesn't have any sacks either. But I bet you like Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put a punctuation.
Looked pretty good. I know.
I'm not going to put a punctuation on his career after 5 games because he hasn't gotten home. He has half a sack. Sacks come in bunches. I don't know how many times we can say it. They're not representative. Jalen Carter is one of the best interior pass rushing players in football. Even though he's banged up, he remains that. He doesn't have a sack. Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle pass rusher in football by far, by leaps and bounds. He doesn't have a sack. You know, Alex Hunt, which everybody's excited about. Oh, it doesn't matter if you lose Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. You got Alex Hunt. He doesn't have a sack. Sacks are far less of a contextual stat than pressures. I'll say that.
Zeal, I appreciate your super chat. I'll just say this. I've been listening to John explain that for legitimately 5 years, well before I was the host of this show. John explained that thing once a week. So I know what John will respond when you bring that up. I appreciate the super chat, though. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll take a quick commercial break. Actually, let me just read this real quick. We're going to have Brandon Lee Gowan. I was trying to get a break in. Pump says, hypothetically, would Angel Reese Brown and Smitty be happier than with Tanner at the helm? I believe we would all be kumbaya. I don't know about that, Pump.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pumper's got this vision of his mind as Tanner McKee as some kind of big-time, high-volume quarterback. If that's your assessment that he's going to be a big-time, high-volume quarterback, which he, might get an opportunity somewhere down the line, you'll get to see it. If he's a Joe Burrow, yeah, everybody would be happier. But I don't think he's Joe Burrow. And I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback, just a different style of quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about style of quarterback, I think, yes, if everybody was given true serum, they'd rather have Joe Burrow. But a healthy Joe Burrow. He's not healthy.
No doubt. Good stuff. Appreciate everybody for being here. Today, we got Brandon Lee Gowan in the green room. We're going to take a quick commercial break, 2 minutes, and we'll be right back here on Birds 365. BLG coming up next.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your gut says Miami is going to win and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. the New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, and we're joined right now by Brandon Lee Gowton. You can follow him on X at Brandon Gowton. Read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com, one of the truly best Eagles websites and communities. You can interact over there as well if you're an Eagles fan. BLG, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing this Wednesday morning?
How's it going, guys?
Great. Thursday night football. What could possibly be better? Nobody practices. I just don't like Thursday football. It's not Eagles Giants related. It's league wide related. I just think it's awful. But when you're in it, BLG, and we're there, it's like they have a walkthrough Tuesday. They have a walkthrough Wednesday. There's no real practice. There's very little time to put together a game plan. Now, all that said, I think this is the perfect situation for the Philadelphia Eagles, BLG, because this New York Giants team stinks on ice. Is there a better situation? You lose a game, everybody's panicking, everybody's meeting. AJ, Saquon, the detente to get Saquon getting AJ and Jalen Hurts together, which is embarrassing from a standpoint. They should be professionals, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is the New York Giants are the cure to it all. Agree or disagree?
I mean, they should be. They're a bad football team. I think it was good for the Eagles that, they lost to the Saints and kind of avoided building any momentum after beating the Chargers. Beat the Chargers, beat the Saints. Like, okay, now we can beat the Eagles. Probably not, but they're in a spot here where they're just so banged up. In addition to being bad, no Malik Neighbors out for the season. Darius Slayton might not play. The top three receivers right now, I don't think most people could name. I had to look it up.
You just had to look it up.
Wan'Dale Robinson.
The great Bo Collins with Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson is your wide receiver one. Ugh.
And I like Wan'Dale Robinson maybe as your third receiver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not your first receiver.
Right.
Yeah. It's bad, as you mentioned, but I was shocked how bad Darius Slayton was playing. They might be better that he's not going to be able to play, it looks, with the hamstring. So, also, Jackson Dart does not look ready to play. Vic said some nice things. I think he had to. He mentioned the gun run game because he is mobile, but throwing the football, he does not look ready. Still a bad offensive line. What do you hang your hat on if you're Brian Daboll? Cam Scatterboo?
It seems like they might get Tyrone Tracy back. We'll see about that. He's on the injury report. It's been limited. Speaking of the offensive line, they might be missing their starting right tackle as well, so that's not great for them. Yeah. There isn't a lot to hang your hat on. I think Dart's mobility is probably one of the things you're more intrigued by if you're the offense there, but he's also on the injury report with a hamstring. Will play, but maybe he's not quite 100% able to run around like he would be if he was at full health. So again, everything's really pointing to the Eagles should be able to dominate this matchup.
Yeah, John.
Let's take it to the Eagles because in a lot of ways, I think these Thursday night games are DNA games. So you really can't game plan that much. So you sort of just do what you do well. So I'm going to ask BLG, what the hell does this offense do well? It's so unique. I should say that because the 3-and-out numbers are ridiculously bad. But when they get the first down, their efficiency numbers are crazy good. Have you ever seen anything like this? It's so weird.
No, it's really I'm not the first person to say this, but the Jekyll and Hyde offense, where it's two different things out of the same entity. And I also looked up this week how many drives the Eagles have had that have resulted in 0 yards or fewer, so negative yards. Yeah. And it's over 20% of the drives this season. That's insane. You can't even gain a yard on 20% of your drives where you've actually tried to gain a yard ultimately. That's crazy. That's what's the criticism is. It's not hey, people are realistically expecting you to go out and score a touchdown on every drive. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But how about like maybe move the ball a little bit? Like that's a very low bar to clear, you would think, and they just can't do that at times. And it's not just like, oh, a drive here or a drive there, right? It's not like, oh, you had one bad drive, but the other drives were good. It's that you have like multiple drives like this for a stretch where
clusters,
there's just no answers for a prolonged stretch.
Yeah. Which is, and then you point to, all right, they're 30th in total offense. They can't run the ball because of the offensive line issues and the injuries. They can't pass the ball, but then they're 11th in points per game. And you say, well, some of that is the block field goal, the block. So there's other contributions to that. But first in red zone offense, like it's just, there's nothing. Usually, I'll describe it as this. The Giants have a bad offense. They're a bad offense. Usually, if you have a bad offense or a good offense, you do everything pretty well. Here, the Eagles do some things at the top of the league, and they're at the bottom of the league in things that you just pointed out. I have literally never seen anything like it. The efficiency when they get that burst down is some of the best ever. And when they don't get it, it's like they go 4 or 5 drives as being some of the worst ever. And nobody can figure it out. I need an answer.
Nick says a wise man avoids all extremes, as we bring up a lot here. But I guess he didn't necessarily say he was the wise man. So I don't know. I think ultimately it is a thing where it would be nice if there were just one answer, if it was truly just Kevin Patullo. But that can't be the case from the standpoint of there are things that we have seen over the years that there are common denominators here with both Jalen and Nick, where they're also part of this. And some of the players are part of it. The big thing I've been thinking about recently, we've all talked about the offensive line not being up to snuff. I think where we usually think that kind of workload that Saquon had takes a toll on the running back, and usually it does. History tells us that. I think that's less the case this year because of how good he has looked physically, and more the case, and Jordan and I, a lot of and players have talked about that toll was taken out on them instead, basically, and they are just not really what they were last year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think people talk about that enough because I think you're right. Everybody was so hyper-focused on Saquon. I mean, playing that style of football, that physical grinding style, you've seen what it did to really Cam and Landon late last season with their issues. And now you're seeing it a little bit with Lane and
everyone but Tyler Steen, who didn't play last year.
Exactly.
Right. So true.
That's a good
BLG,
point.
what do you think of Kevin Patullo so far this year? It's kind of a controversial subject so far through 5 weeks.
I mean, I think he has to be better. I think, I was willing to give him more benefit of the doubt, I think, than maybe some others, and talking about how I think he's his own man in terms of where he came from in the NFL. He literally wasn't just tied to the hip with Nick Sirianni the whole way. Fortunately, I think some of what he is doing, and maybe that's because, there's ultimately, still a Nick Sirianni influence here because he is the head coach and presumably is, green lighting the game plan and has involved in that process in some way more than not at all. I think a lot of what people have issues with aren't necessarily the play calls. Like people talk about things in terms of like play design issues that they then are like, well, that's a bad play call. It's like, well, maybe the call isn't necessarily bad or good, but the design of it is leaving you kind of with no great answers anyway. And my thing with that too is that, and this is the problem, of not having a play calling head coach, is like you're kind of shuffle through offensive coordinators in this setup. And ultimately, I would like the head coach to be able to have some big picture answers. Maybe it's not taking over play calling, but if there are common problems here and things can't get fixed, ultimately the head coach has to somehow find a way to like help come up with solutions to that problem. If it's not Nick Sirianni necessarily, taking over play calling or being the offensive design guy, but he should be able to come in and be like, okay, we're having problems here. We have to find answers for this. Here's somehow how we can do that. And I think just So it's the structure really more than just the person that I have
How
issues
much
with.
do you put on like the route concept conversation and the simplicity and some of that stuff? And if you do buy into that, why do you think that is? Is that coordinator? Is that quarterback? Is that head coach? Well, where do you put that?
Well, go by Jalen Hurts' own words, and he says the offense is going to look how Jalen Hurts, referring to himself in the third person, wants it to look like. So when we talk about that, we can't like sit there and be like, well, he has nothing to do with it. He is just like his hands are tied behind his back, and he's a victim. Like the Eagles don't give him that massive contract that they do, and then be like, well, Jalen, you have no power, you have no say at all. Like you have to be beholden completely to the coaching staff. Just think about like Jalen Hurts' personality. You think like he's going along with that? I don't think he's just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever you say. So he's absolutely again a factor in this all. So really, it's not fun to talk about from a standpoint of you can just flip one switch. I think it's really the collective, just like it was in 2023 in a lot of ways. The collective is not getting it right.
Yeah, well, another part of the craziness I'll add to the mix is that all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in football against the blitz, and now he can't throw it against zone. Like what? I mean, all we talked about, and Zander can tell you, when they're going to the Super Bowl, ultimately, obviously winning the Super Bowl, and by that point, I had said just run the go route against the blitz, and it worked, by the way, in the Super Bowl pretty significantly. I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, I believe Jalen was 13 or 14 against the blitz against Denver with 2 touchdowns, just off the charts good. And then they shifted gears and played, simulated pressure. And you've seen that a couple times this year. Tampa did the same thing. They blitzed early. Jalen was great, handled it. Then they went simulated pressure, and it was a disaster. It's like, it's so bizarre, BLG. Now it's the exact opposite of what it's been before. If I'm Nick Sirianni, if I'm Kevin Patullo, in a lot of ways, I'm like, we thought if we fix this, we'd be that top 5 offense that everybody would like to see. They fixed it, and everything else has gone haywire. At what point is it the quarterback? Because the other issue is getting up to the line of scrimmage, which is, cost the Eagles with the Saquon Barkley illegal shift. They're bottom in the league there, 32nd. They were 31st last year with Kellen Moore. Now it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
But they were bad at it last year. At what point do we have to look at number 1?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to there's a common denominator here, and there's multiple common denominators to be clear. But like you have to look at him, and it can't just be the offensive coordinator. And yeah, they are a lot worse, basically, at getting to the line of scrimmage, which to me is like an insane topic that we're even talking about from the standpoint of like I was saying this to Shio Kapadia. Like you go back to the offseason, and we're talking about the storylines or even just the preview for a given game. No one's talking about this at any point throughout that. I'd be like, oh, one of the things the Eagles have to fix this year, really get better at, is getting to the ball faster. Something that like Nick Sirianni talks about, master the things that require no talent. Yeah. Feels to me like getting to the line faster doesn't require like insane amount of talent. And even the team is talking about it last week about how they need to do a better job of doing it. And then yet in that game, they're like even worse and not any better. So it's just perplexing to me how that's even an issue. And like, it seems silly that we're talking about it. Like, oh, how do they get it fixed? I don't know. Maybe just get to the line faster. Like, figure it out.
The one thing I would say though that bothers me, not bothers me, but I noticed about this conversation, because I agree with you guys. I don't think it can all be off Jalen Hurts, but you do look around the league and it's like, look at what Ben Johnson's doing for Caleb Williams. Look at what the guy in Minnesota has done for quarterback. Like we see these instances of these coaches getting their hands on these young quarterbacks, and all of a sudden they look a whole lot better. Like I'm not saying none of it's on none of it's on Jalen Hurts, but aren't they supposed to give him a little bit of an advantage? I don't know if they're doing that yet for Jalen Hurts, and that would be my one reservation or gripe on the Eagles offensive staff right now.
Yeah, I think the difference there, though, is like those players haven't built up, the cachet that like Jalen Hurts has, where there's more control by the coaching staff. So I think that's a factor. I do agree to a bigger point that, like, I think at the very dumbed down, simple level, the hallmark of good coaching is like doing more with less talent, like elevating your talent.
Yeah.
And I do think, it's fair to question, is this coaching staff always doing that? Especially more so on the offensive side.
I would say a $250 million offense that's 30th in the league. I think we could say a resounding no that they're not doing that.
Absolutely. So I think, that is also, again, why it's not just a quarterback, and that the coaching staff is an issue in there as well.
Yeah, I would agree. But to Zander's point of, there's a lot of shit with Caleb Williams as well. I think people look at the highlights and go, and that's a tremendously talented player. But I think if you look at consistency, you'd much rather have Jalen Hurts than Caleb Williams. I mean, I just brought up his blitz numbers. He hasn't thrown an interception in 280 passes. There's a lot of good stuff with Jalen Hurts as well. Look, I've said it pretty consistently. I don't know where you are. I think you're on the same page. I don't think he's ever going to be a high volume passer. I don't think that's his game. I don't think it should be his game. I think, to me, that's the hallmark of good coaches. You build around the players you have. I think the Eagles have built an offense that suits the quarterback. So to me, it's about building up that offense to be at a higher efficiency level. I don't disagree with the way they play. I guess I disagree with not being able to fix some of the, like, I often point when we talk about the 3 and outs, like, give me a layup. If you have 2 3 and outs, give me a layup. Scheme up a layup.
Right.
It might be a bubble screen, which I hate. It might be a swing pass to Will Shipley. Give me a layup to get back in the feel of the game. Yeah. I don't think they do that well. That's where I criticize the coaching staff.
Sure.
But I think they built the right offense for this quarterback. Is that being too easy on them?
I would say in the past, certainly last year, I don't know, but like going back to what we talked about here, I don't know what this offense is. I don't know what their identity is of this team. So you can say that, like, in theory. You talk about not high volume, but yeah, obviously this past week was, but I don't necessarily blame them for that because of how they're consistently getting off of schedule. There's some chicken or the egg there in terms of, okay, maybe you're getting off schedule though because you're passing more earlier on. But that's the most frustrating thing about this. I think you said it, John, earlier. It's just like you want answers, but it feels like it's hard to get them. And it's just we're all sitting here wondering why this is as complicated as it is. And quite frankly, again, it's a ridiculous storyline. And that's part of why I feel like AJ had the right to say what he said a couple weeks ago when he's so frustrated. Because it's just like, it's insane that this is even a topic that we're talking about. This shouldn't be this difficult. There's a difference between like underperforming a little bit and totally just like, not even coming close to your talent level. And they're the latter of those two.
Yeah. Which is bothersome to me. BLJ, real quick. And I don't want to sit up here and play counselor or any of that crap, but how much of an impact does this relationship thing do you think have? Because I get it. In a perfect world, you can say, who cares what the relationship is? Just go play ball, go play 60. But you look through the history of sports. I mean, how many great teams, great dynasties have been derailed because of egos, for lack of a better word? How much do you think this is impacting this offense, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you look at the comments from Jalen and AJ after the game on Sunday, and I think reflective of, not being on the same page. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, they don't have to be best friends. There's a world where they're not necessarily best friends, but can, function more together, have a functional professional relationship. And I think that hasn't always been there, and certainly wasn't there on that big play that could have been, a dagger in the game against the Broncos there and that deep pattern. So I think that has to get better. And also, look, if we're going to credit Nick Sirianni for like the culture and fostering good vibes, which I think he has done a good job of at times in the past, more often than not. This is something that I feel like has to be addressed. And you talk about tough, detailed, together. Like it feels like kind of we're lacking on the together element here.
Yeah. Well, they did have the big meeting, as their buddy Jimmy Kemsky reported.
Yep.
I mean, look, to me, it's. I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to hurt.
Right.
But whether Saquon's playing mediator or whatever it is, I do think they certainly have to get on the same page. But I do think these offensive soap opera issues are also letting the defense kind of skate in that game, because bottom line is they had a 17-3 lead. And yeah, they could have put the game away if they hit the dagger play. And they didn't, and they weren't on the same page and all that. But you got Bo Nix out there, 17-3. And they didn't finish the deal in the fourth quarter. Are they skating by because of the offensive issues?
I hear that, and I don't think it's unfair to point that out. I do think about it from a standpoint of they were on the field for so long, and part of that is they need to get off the field, but also part of it is like the offense needs to stay on the field with all these 3 and outs. I think here's what I've been thinking about it, though. Even let's say the defense got some stops late in that game. Not so much in the final drive, I guess, before that. Like, what's the offense going to do? They're just going to go 3 out again and punt, and then the defense is going to be on the back on the field again. Like, the defense can't just be expected to pitch 10 shutout drives to end the game while the offense does nothing at all. Like, eventually, at some point, the offense needs to step up, especially given how I think it's fair to say the defense has carried their weight for most of the season, whereas the offense has not. And the defense is not getting picked up by the offense at all. It's just the defense has to do it all, or else the Eagles are going to lose. I just don't think that's. I think it's fair to criticize some of the defense, some of the things that happened. I don't think it was a great defensive performance by any means, but I just don't think I'm starting there when I'm starting with the offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, offense got to help them out a little bit. Leading the league in 3 and outs is not helping your defense, no doubt about it. BLG, I do think this too on this team, and I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think there has been an overreaction to one loss. We haven't had a loss in a long time. All of the NFL teams lose games. Welcome to the party, Eagles fans. We're back in the rest of the mix. And you got the Giants, the Vikings, and the Giants. BLG, we could be sitting here in 3 weeks, 7-1 at the bye week. Like, all right,
should be. I would argue should be.
I agree. So it's like, I don't know. Part of me thinks there's issues, absolutely, things we got to address, things the team has to fix, no doubt about it. But the team's still in a good spot, and it can handle their business for the next couple of weeks and go into the bye week at 7-1.
Yeah, that's a great point, Zander. My thought on this has been, if you ever wondered if there was kind of an acceptable time for the Eagles to lose in a game, that isn't where they're resting their starters, there isn't, because you would think it might be in a spot where it's an AFC opponent where you're 20-1 in your last 21 games, including a Super Bowl win in there, a blowout Super Bowl win, and a blowout NFC Championship game performance. Yeah, right. And to be clear, I'm not saying fans should just let the team skate by. No, absolutely, everyone is within their rights to be frustrated. I mean, they shouldn't have lost a game where they blew a 17-3 lead like that to that team. But just my point being that there's never going to be really true grace for a team, even as well as they can play, to have a loss like that. But yeah, I do think that you win on Thursday night and you do it comfortably and you make a statement and you have your get right game, and that loss to the Broncos really is put in the past and you're trending in a good way moving forward, but you have to go out and do it.
Yeah, until that clock struck 0, I honestly believe the Eagles were going to win the game.
Oh, I thought they were going to hit the Hail Mary.
Yeah, here it comes. Here comes the touchdown, and we're all talking on the post-game show. Oh, they won the game somehow again. So
when you win a game with a blocked field goal, walk-off blocked field goal, when you win a game, with a blocked punt touchdown helping you. Yeah, I thought they were going to connect on the Hail Mary. Wouldn't surprise me if Jalen ran down there and caught his own pass, as he tried to do, just because they found every conceivable way to win. So why not find another way? But to your point, BLG, it's always, you're going to lose out of conference, number one. Yep. I mean, so that part of it is certainly helpful. At Brandon Gouton, make sure you follow the great BLG on the X platform, bleedinggreennation.com, as Zander mentioned. Not only a great website, but a tremendous community of Eagles fans. If you want to get involved over there, please do that. We're here. I mean, you don't got much time. We always say we have you most Wednesdays, and I always say, right to change your mind because it's so early in the week. It's not early in the week, BLG.
Yeah.
He's going to win the football game tomorrow night at the beautiful and sarcastic MetLife Stadium.
Eagles 7.5-point favorites on the road.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
big number.
Really speaks to the Giants not being a good team. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here to win and cover that spread. I think they will win comfortably. I think they're frustrated after that loss. I think they're going to take it out on the Giants team they just own. They always beat the Giants. And I mean, this is going back to like 2008 now, where they've just had this incredibly dominant stretch for them, nearly spanning 20 years. That's crazy. So much so that the Eagles overtook the all-time record that they had with the New York Giants, which I always think is really insane. So yeah, I take the Eagles to win. They're going to win comfortably. I think the defense stifles Jackson Dart. It might not be 100%. And then I think the offense probably still has some dry spells within that, but I think ultimately do enough to win comfortably.
Yep, good stuff. BLG, appreciate you doing it, man. Make sure you guys follow that brand account and go over there. Check out the best website, bleedinggreennation.com. BLG, thank you, brother. We appreciate it, man.
See you guys.
All right,
thanks, man.
BLG joining us here on Birds 365. Great show today so far. Mike Gill and BLG joining in. We got a couple super chats we'll get to. But Johnny Mack, an interesting one, man. We are already on the eve of a game, which I both like and don't like. But, Thursday games are an ugly product. But at the end of the day, you're able to flush the first loss quickly, John, and move on as fast as possible and maybe get back in the win column here tomorrow night.
Yeah, for the team, it's definitely a good thing because you had to move on quickly. And you should. I mean, NFL teams always have to approach it that way, even in a normal week, but it gets just sped up. So never good to hold on to a loss. And most players are pretty good about that. And they flush it pretty quickly because, again, you have to go back to work. So you can't just be, woe is me and be depressed all week. You got to go and try to fix what the issues are. And that's how the Eagles always approach it, but it's sped up, as I said. And yeah, I think they'll be fine. I mean, this to me is a perfect situation. This is where you don't want
to fix the offense though, right, John? I mean, if you're 30th in offense, dude, you could lose any game.
Well, yeah, but that's the interesting part. And what I tried, the strangest part for me with this offense is how good they are when they do get that first down.
Right.
Like again, typically when you're ranked 30th in offense, and again, it's still a small sample size, but when you're ranked near the bottom of the league and all, you usually have a bad offense. And the Eagles have, as BLG said, this Jekyll and Hyde mentality where they're either really good or really bad, and there's no mediocre. And it's bizarre. Like they're 11 of 12 in the red zone. That's insane. They went 4 games with 11 consecutive touchdowns.
Yeah, but it's 12 a low number through 5 games to be in the red zone? It is, right?
Well, I mean, when you're that efficient.
No, I get it, but you got to get down there a little bit more.
Well, that's the strange part. I don't know who number 2 is, but I guarantee they're not close to 92.3%. I can look it up, but I mean, that's just absurd how efficient that is. And yet they're so inefficient when they don't get that first down. And that, as I said to BLG, is my biggest criticism of this coaching staff. When it's not clicking, go get a freaking layup. Go throw. You threw a million a million flat passes this summer in training camp. Throw a damn flat pass. Throw it to the running back.
They threw one to Devontae last week, and A.J. Brown didn't block a soul on the play.
Well, it's Bash AJ. I mean, receivers and bubble screens. I mean, receivers, newsflash, are not good blockers.
I know. I'm just saying.
And AJ is one of the better receivers, but receivers as a whole are not good blockers. That's one of the reasons why I hate bubble screens, because they're so, when they don't work, 99% of the time, it's because the wide receiver missed the block, and they're so ugly. That's one of the reasons I don't like it. But again, that's fine. I throw it in the trash if you're performing well consistently on offense. But when you're not, and again, I'd rather go screen, I'd rather go flat pass, I'd rather do anything than bubble screen. But if it's got to be a bubble screen, it's got to be a bubble screen.
Yeah, right.
At least stay ahead of the sticks.
Yeah, I agree. John, what's on the agenda for today for the Birds? Wednesday, day before the
walk through. It's like Saturday. Yeah, walk through and
so are you not going down there today?
No. Yeah, it's like Saturday. No access whatsoever. That's another thing. I mean, yeah, everything's sped up. Anybody who likes Thursday football doesn't understand that, like, there's no prep for this game. Zero.
Yeah. Which is why you don't like it, because not enough of the other stuff that goes into it. I got you. Here's B Pumper. Uh-oh. Pumper checks in. Everyone blames Brian Pumper. I don't play victim now. But J-Mac gave the kiss of death to the Eagles. I don't see this team losing, he said. All right. Wait, I don't know about that, Pumper.
Kiss of death against.
He's blaming you now, John. John, you're the reason.
Well, I tell everybody I'm not superstitious. I don't believe your curses. I don't believe when I say they're going to win a game. Oh, McMullen, so they lost. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you tweet out something and someone's like, don't say that yet. They got to win.
Exactly. Yeah, I have no control over the Philadelphia Eagles winning or losing a football game. I just give my opinions. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in that stuff.
You did say, though, John, that you weren't going to pick them to lose until they lost.
Well, that's because I've seen them win so much.
I agree with the take, but now that they have lost, I'm curious to see how.
Well, I would pick them to lose if they were playing Detroit this week. They're playing the New York Giants.
Yeah, right. You're tipping your hand on who you're picking tomorrow. Bird Gang says, who would have thought winning the Super Bowl would mean giving Nick his leash back and allowing him to hire his buddy to run his crappy offense again? I don't know if that's what's happening.
I don't. They had the same problems when Kellen was running the offense. The difference is they won the Super Bowl, and it's all obfuscated. If they win the Super Bowl, you'll forget about this as well. If they don't, and
was the offense in 22 Shane's or Nick's?
Well, but again, what is it? It's Nick's offense. It's been Nick's offense since 2021. But as far as play calling, it was the Chargers game when Shane took over. And since then, he's, it's been, but the game planning, the overall framework of the offense is Nick's offense. And those guys manipulate in that offense, are given the freedom to do that in the offense. And that's been everybody from Shane to Brian to Kellen to Kevin. But it's Nick's offense. And he admits that. So if you want to blame somebody first, blame Nick Sirianni, which he always tells you to do. But yeah, it's his offense.
Simo says, why is it Hurts calls his own plays audibles and results in a chunk play or a touchdown, but when he runs the offense through Patullo, it's stale? Well, Simo, I'll let John answer first. Go ahead, John. What's your thought on that?
Well, that Simo mob is known as anecdotal evidence. I mean, there's no just because you say it doesn't make it true. I mean, again, I've explained audibles. I don't think people understand what they're saying when they say audibles. Like in most modern offenses, you go up to the line of scrimmage and they ran a bunch of RPOs. with two options. If it's a traditional pass play, you can kill it to a run. If you like, basically you're playing, as Tom Brady explained so well, you're playing a numbers game, as everything in professional sports has become, and you're playing the odds as well. What do they play usually on 3rd and 7? The opposition. That's what you're calling. Maybe they come out in a different front. You got to kill it from run to pass or vice versa. But yeah, as far as every time Jalen audibles results in chunk plays, go to Seattle a couple years ago in 2023. What's that?
The thing I don't like about this is, like, if you're going to give Jalen credit for audible and he audibles to the Saquon touchdown, then how are you going to take any credit off him or not, or blame off him for all the other play calls? Like, he either has autonomy to audible or he doesn't.
Because
and if
they don't want to blame the players, they want to blame the coach. I mean,
I'm not blaming Jalen, but look, he's a Super winning quarterback. At some point, he has some sort of control over the offense.
Well, I mean, when he calls his own plays, he's never called one of his own plays his entire NFL career. So number one, I mean, and by the way, I don't unnecessarily like that. I'm just telling you the reality of the modern NFL.
Yeah, right. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying I think people are selective with that criticism. It's like, look, I'm with you guys. I'm not a big fan of everything too. But at the end of the day, if Jalen's getting credit for audibling into this play, and then you're saying anytime he runs another play, it's the coach's fault, that doesn't really add up.
It's just an extension of the play call. I hate this play call. I like this play call. No, you like one result and you don't like another result. But yeah, that's specific chat, and thank you for the chat, but that's completely anecdotal.
He's good. He followed it up. I'll read it when you're done.
That's not the case. Again, you can go, the most high profile instance would be Seattle in 2023 when he and AJ both went off script and it resulted in them costing the game. They were moving the football. They said, let's take a shot. And I think it was Julian Love who made a great play, and it was just underthrown. It was bad. It was a bad decision by both of them. So there's good and bad. And the Barkley play, that was according to Saquon, it was inaudible. And that worked. So people are going to point to it. And there's good plays and there's bad plays, like everything else. From Tom Brady on down. Tom Brady's had bad audibles. Like, they're human beings. They're not all perfect.
Simo says, I'm not saying every play. He literally just seen Saquon want to run a wheel route that wasn't in the playbook, according to him, that they came up with.
Yeah, that's not the case. That's not the case. First of all, wheel routes in every playbook. This is the NFL. If you don't think wheel routes are in the playbook, I can't help you.
I guess Saquon said it wasn't in the playbook.
Saquon didn't frame it the way he should have. They basically saw something on the field. And what they saw was Alex Singleton, who can't run with Saquon Barkley.
Alex Singleton on Saquon, yeah.
And they made a nice play. But yeah, he's not calling his own plays. You're not drawing up plays in the dirt like you're playing backyard football. And yeah, I mean, a wheel route is not exactly a unique route in NFL offenses. People run it. Every offense in this league runs it all the time, including the Eagles. How many wheel routes have you seen attempted to Saquon since he's been here? What do you mean it's not in the playbook?
Yeah, I agree with Dirty Air. He says, I think the genesis of that came from Tampa Bay when Bucky did that. She might be right. Bucky destroyed her.
Yeah, everybody runs wheel routes.
I know. It's a
turn on an NFL game. I mean,
Saquon said it, John. I hate to break it to you, but you're fighting an uphill battle, my friend. Saquon said it, so they're not going to listen to you on this. But I got you. John, your final thoughts here today on a Wednesday edition, my friend.
Yeah. Well, Saquon corrected himself yesterday, so people can check that out. But anyway,
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
But anyway, yeah. All NFL offenses run wheel routes, but yeah, the Eagles are in a good position. It's game day, football Thursday. It doesn't even sound right. Football Thursday.
Just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, but it's a good spot for the Eagles, especially with all these struggles and all these concerns and everybody worried about this and everybody that. This is the perfect opponent. Perfect opponent. Not only are they playing a young quarterback who's not ready to play, but they have a bunch of skill position injuries on top of it. And some offensive line issues as well, as they always do with the Giants. That's a annual seemingly affair. But, they're also an NFL team. So Andrew Thomas is back. He's a hell of a player. We mentioned their defensive front. Dexter Lawrence, man, I guarantee you Dexter Lawrence is looking at this game and saying, hey, this is my opportunity to get going. If it's Brett Toth in there versus Landon Dickerson, and it will be, so they're probably trying to get going themselves. And it isn't Alabama against Paris State, but it is a pretty wide disparity when it does come to the NFL.
Good stuff. Johnny Mac, appreciate it today, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a game day edition of Birds 365. Appreciate it, brother.
All right. Thanks, all.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show today, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the super chats today. Let's go to my boy, Caesar. Oh, shit. My bad, dude. I didn't know that this was for John. I just booted him out of here. I was overtime with him. John, considering the Eagles ranked 31st in passing offense while posting a red zone efficiency of 92.3%, lineups +1, do you interpret this split as evidence of scheme overcorrection toward conservative play or more as execution? It's actually a good question there by Caesar. Caesar, I apologize for not asking John this. I might put this one in the till. Let me put this in the till. I'm going to write it on my whiteboard here, Caesar. And I'll ask him this tomorrow. Caesar super chats. Remind me to just pull it. I have to pull it from the studio. All right. I can do that though. I appreciate the chat, Caesar. To answer your question from my perspective, I think John's going to say to you execution. Now, I don't know how you tie in the red zone efficiency part of what you're saying. Red zone efficiency, do you interpret this split as evidence of scheme overcorrection toward conservative play or more as execution? I think John's going to tell you execution. Again, I don't know why you tie in the red zone part of it. Like you can adjust, you can scheme overcorrect toward conservative play and still be successful in the red zone. But I guess you're saying because they're successful in the red zone, when they're not in the red zone, are they being too conservative? I would assume that's what you're alluding to there. I think John's going to tell you execution. Here's Caesar again. What's up, brother? Also, John, I know Big Z does this every option he can, but thanks for a great job and insight you give us. I appreciate that, Caesar. John would appreciate that as well. All right. John would appreciate that as well. Here's Roll Philly, who says, Big Z's the only guy on Jacob I can stand to listen to. That's not true, Roll Philly. That's not true. Roll Philly, if I'm not mistaken, I watched you for 4 hours chirp at Cilio yesterday. 4 fucking hours. Start to finish, Roll Philly. Now, you might not like him. You might not want to hear his takes. But I don't know. I don't listen to people for 4 hours that I can't stand. Maybe you do. I don't know. I love you, Roll Philly, but the truth is the truth. Here's Caesar. Toward conservative play in between the 20s. Yeah, I got you. That's what I kind of thought you had. Not trusting deep or intermediate passing, or more as execution failures that coaching needs to clean up. I think it's probably a combination of both, dude. You know, I think it's probably a combo of both. I mean, you're conservative. And when you're between the 20s, you're not executing successfully. You're not pushing the needle as much as you could. I don't know. I look, I'm not a Kevin Patullo, like, fire Kevin type of guy. But I will say, I'm starting to wonder what he's adding to the offense. Like, how are we 31st? How are we 31st? John is awesome. I love John too. I think John's great. Hey Zander, I think why out guys have overblown the player meeting. I think it was more of letting AJ feel heard. Well, TK, whatever the case may be, it wasn't all about the offense because you don't have an offensive meeting. I mean, Sills is right about that. You don't have an offensive meeting to fix the offense without the play caller, the head coach, the offensive line, the tight end, wide receiver 2, Devontae Smith, who was upset. Like that wasn't all about the offense. But I'm happy they had it. I didn't see it like John. All right. He says, yeah, I got to support the channel when Big Z's there. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Roll Philly. All right. Deshae says, I don't like John, man. Whatever, Deshae. I love you, brother. You know I do. All right. All right. That's true. Roll Philly. I appreciate the support, bro. I really do. All right. I really do. No doubt about it. Make sure I got all my super chats here today. Brian Pumper, what's going on with you right now? Brian Pumper, you're all over the map. You really are. Xander, throw me the rock. James, I'm not throwing you the rock, my guy. You're struggling, James. James, I got to be honest. You had a much better season last year. You know, we're 5 weeks into this thing. You're not making much of a difference. You're not making much of an impact. Your comments haven't been memorable. I don't know, James. Not the same year for you. I love J Max Sills and my brother Z. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Vulnerable. It's fucking hate week, vulnerable. Just kidding, brother. He says, sorry if you have already covered it. But I meant to ask John about the Gannon video. He got fined $100,000 for that. That's an awful look. Yeah, John said it. John said it. He said that yesterday. We talked about it vulnerable yesterday where I meant to ask him about the fine. But he did say it was a bad look. I agree. I agree with the hitting part. I don't have a problem with him chewing him out. I don't. I think we've lost a little bit of accountability, in today's world where it's like people are afraid to discipline players or, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. They're pros. There's a way to do it. And certainly hitting a guy is obviously not the right way to do it. But I don't have a problem with him chewing him out there. But, yeah, you can't fucking hit a player, I get it. There's old school football guys who are like, he slapped a guy with shoulder pads. You should have seen what my coaches did to me. I got you, Mr. Jeezy. I do. I understand. It's a soft league. But at the end of the day, you're also dealing with grown men. Yeah, like you can't put your hands on a grown man, dude. Just because you're a football coach. I don't know. Put your hands on a grown man at work. I get it. It's not you're not playing football. I understand. I'm just saying there's a way to go about that. And when you're a leader of men, specifically grown men who make millions of dollars, there's a way to go about it. Hitting him is not the move. But I don't have a problem with him being an asshole about it. I don't have a problem with him chewing him out. I don't have a problem with him ripping him in a player meeting, in a team meeting. I don't have a problem with any of that. I mean, but on the sideline, you got to be careful with that, man. You got to have some emotional constraint. He says, the hitting is too far. In a position of power, you can't do something to me. I can't do back. Exactly, Roll Phil. I think that's a good perspective. All right. I think that's a good perspective. Exactly. Imagine if DeMarcado hit Gannon and said, yeah, that was a shitty fucking play call. Come on. Can't have that. He just cost Gannon. I don't agree with that, Jeezy. I don't agree with that. What are the I think he's got plenty of other issues there. All right. I think he's got plenty of other issues there. Denise, thanks for the super chat. I'll get to him in a second. What is he? He's 2-3. Jerry Jones got 250. What did you get that for? For the middle finger? I saw that. Z, it's money and a man's livelihood. I got you. Believe me, it's a complex thing, but don't put your hands on a player. That's never going to be the right answer, especially in today's world. Now, people can cry about it. People can say this world is soft. People can say the league is soft. Whatever you want to say. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the reality is the reality. You can't put a hand on a player like that. Denise says, very worried of if offense doesn't become more consistent, defense will wear down playtime too much. Denise, I agree 100%. Denise, and I appreciate you because you're a very honest fan. You come in here and you say, John, shut up, you're hating. Xander, shut up, you're hating. But when you're upset or you see something that you think is an issue, you put it in here. So I do appreciate your perspectives, Denise. And they do. Look, they're I don't think anybody's denying that at this point. You can't be 31st on offense. You can't, you know? Yeah, apparently the super chat. Denise, I know what you meant. She said frustrated with the system. Yeah, apparently the super chats really mess up the apparently the super chats do like this autocorrect. I don't know, guys. Talk to Google. I don't know. Curtis says, Xander, I would never say we would have more wins, but Dougie P would coaching Jalen being more Robert. I agree 100%. Doug Peterson would have been excellent, I think, for Jalen. Would be excellent with Jalen. Yeah, Joe, I agree. Can't be putting your hands on players like that. You can't. Kenny says, next KP presser, J-Mac should pull an Office Space. What would you say you do here? All right, guys, I'm going to request something to all of you. All right, and it has nothing to do with the football right now. For anybody that I'm used to I miss all my names. Like YouTube is doing this change, and I get it. They're trying to cut down on like spam accounts and people who impersonate. So I get it. But now we have these things in the chat, and you can see everybody's got an @ address. Bud Scroggins. So a lot of you guys are very similar. Like Kimberly is still Kimberly. HKP is HK Pizzle, which is good because I know it's HKP. Joe Whip is still kind of Joe Whip. Bud is still Bud. Jim is still Jim. So a lot of you guys are the same. But, like, there's a couple of you who aren't. Like, Deshae is Scooby-Doo now. My guy Houston is Houston still, so that works. Roll Philly Dogs. I have no idea who you were before the name changed. How long have you been here, Roll Philly? I don't know. Who were you before the names changed? So if you guys could, go and alter your usernames. It's worth getting a good username anyway. It's like, think of it like getting an Instagram name. And make it like Ryan. Is this you? Is this lowercase Ryan? Go change your fucking names. KCA Eagle, you're still the same guy. Philly Jokers, Cody K. Yeah, so like that's fine. I don't know. You can leave them. I'll learn who you are. Brandon Lewis. What did I have to bitch at you today? Brandon, I saw one of your comments on the show today, and I said, I'm going to bitch at Brandon on Xander time. What the fuck was it? Oh, I know what it was, Brandon. I'm going to rip you for something right now, Brandon. Let me make sure he's still here. Junior Chappa. I might remember you, but I don't remember that name. Junior Chappa. Okay, you were Colton. I got you now. Underdog. You're still Underdog. I love Underdog. And he comes in here and he stirs the pot up. You guys can't handle Underdog's takes. I can handle Underdog's takes, whether I agree with him or not. I don't really care. I love having Underdog here. He pushes the needle on conversations, which is necessary. It's sports talk. You know, I was thinking about dubbing a new slogan for JAKIB Sports. Make sports talk great again. Make Eagles talk great again. Everybody wants to be buttered up. I don't like buttering people up. And I don't like to be buttered up. Don't fucking butter me up. Give me the truth. Where's Brandon Lewis? Brandon, you had one of the shittiest comments I've ever seen. You said Underdog will probably agree with you. All right? So Underdog and you can fight back with me on this. You said something, Brandon. You said Jalen Hurts was forced on Nick Sirianni and alluded to some sort of offense that Nick ran with Phillip Rivers and all this other bullshit. So the quarterback that Nick Sirianni was forced on Nick goes and wins Nick a Super Bowl. Are you under the impression that if Nick got to pick his quarterback, he would have been able to go and win another Super Bowl? Now, you might not like Jalen Hurts or might not. He might not be your favorite style of quarterback. That's perfectly all right. But are you under the impression that Nick Sirianni doesn't love Jalen Hurts? He was forced on Nick Sirianni. Nick, sit down and shut the fuck up. All right? If that's the case. Come on, Brandon. That's a brutal take. He was forced on him. What are you talking about? He was forced on him. The guy who was forced on him helped him go win a Super Bowl. In fact, If Nick Sirianni didn't have Jalen Hurts, he would be on the island of misfit toys with the Adam Gases of the world. He would be fired. He wouldn't be a head coach right now. So he should be thanking his lucky stars that Jalen Hurts was forced on him. All right? Come on, Brandon. Again, you don't have to love his style perfectly, but holy shit. Jalen Hurts has done a hell of a lot for Nick Sirianni. I'm not under the impression that Nick Sirianni would be around for a while if he had a different style of quarterback. I really am not. The emotional antics, the ineptitude of creating, good offensive schemes, the ineptitude that he had in calling play. He is lucky that he has Jalen Hurts, because most other dudes who had to change I got hired to be an offensive mind. Think about this. I got hired to be an offensive mind. I had to give up play calling in 7 fucking games. 7 games. I got hired and paid millions of dollars, got the biggest promotion of my life. I've become one of 32 men in the world who possess a head coaching job, and they hired me because I'm good on offense. And I had to give up play calling after 7 effing games. He should be happy he's got Jalen Hurts. Brandon, I love you. Did he respond? He said he technically was forced. Most head coaches will want their own guy. Well, maybe. Maybe. Nick would much rather have McKee. Why do you think they let McKee rip it 41 times, Zander? Well, underdog, different styles of quarterback, man. Different players are going to do different things well. Maybe you're right. Maybe he'd rather have a passing quarterback, but underdog, I don't know, brother. Here's what I'd say to you. I think he'd rather fucking win. Would he rather throw the ball 41 times and lose, or would he rather have this conversation about Jalen Hurts and win and have a record that rivals Vince Lombardi's and have a Super Bowl on the mantle after 4 years as a head coach? I mean, you got Reuben Frank writing that he's going to the Hall of Fame. You think he'd have that just because he would throw the ball 41 times? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that – how many quarterbacks throw the ball 41 times a game and don't reach the success that this team has reached? Now, there's a lot of variables in that. I'm not saying that Jalen's the only variable. But that's what I'm saying, HKP. I don't give a shit what Nick would rather have. Nick, sit down. Nick, to the corner. Let's put Nick in the cuck chair for a second. Nick, sit down and shut up. You take the quarterback you get. All right? I don't want to hear it. Holy shit. Caesar with 50,000 Chilean pesos. I think that's 50 banger. I think that's a 50 burger. All right? Lucia says, y'all can have Nick. I'll take Jalen Hurts and Doug. Yeah, me too. Guys, you got to go and listen to the Doug Peterson interview. I don't give a shit what you think of Cilio. Go and listen to the Doug Peterson interview. I miss that guy. I love that guy. Right as it stands today, Nick could win 10 Super Bowls. I don't really give a shit. Doug's my favorite Eagles coach of all time. I fucking love Doug Peterson. All right? I love Doug Peterson. Go listen to the interview. It was phenomenal. It really was. For any Eagle fan, whether you love Sills or hate Sills, I don't care. Great, great, great interview. Brandon's trying to get me. He says, how do you know about it? Because I've been putting people in one my whole life, Brandon. How about that? No, I don't think that's 100. I think 50,000 because I've been converting Caesar's super chats. Let's do it. Ready? 50,000 CLP to USD. $52. 52 United States dollars. Caesar, thank you, brother. Caesar, thank you, brother. Much respect, Z. He didn't even give me a chat. He just wanted to say much respect. This is why I love Caesar. All right? This is why I love Caesar. All right? This is why I love Caesar. Thank you, Caesar. I owe Caesar something, too. Caesar, when are you coming in? I got to send that shit out to the address you sent me. This dude Caesar gave me an American address to send a shitty one. What'd you win? You won a shirt, right? I'm gonna throw some extra stuff in there too for Caesar because he gives us a lot of super chats. All right. Oh, how about my boy Matt Bird yesterday? He posted up on social media. He got his giveaway jerseys. Pretty dope. He blurred the Zander time, which is funny. Or the Zander note. Let me pull this up. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. My boy Mad Bird. Look at it. He posted it out. Huge shout out to my brother Zander and Jacob for hooking me up with this incredible AJ Brown jersey. I appreciate all the hard work you guys put into covering the best team in the NFL. Big thank you to John and Dan, two of the best in the game. Your hard work and dedication never go unnoticed. Truly appreciate everything you do. Go Birds. Pretty cool post. He's got the Jacob hat. He bought that a little bit ago. He's got the AJ jersey. And you can see blurred the Z note. He blurred the Z note. All right. So pretty cool though. Pretty cool. Thanks, Mad Bird, for posting that up, brother. I appreciate it. I love the community. I really do. Dirty Air says, iPhone super chats autocorrect terribly. You don't notice it before buying. I think it's a trick to get you to rebuy another one. I have to type it out in notes, then paste it in. Yeah, that's bullshit, Dirty Air. That's actually not a bad idea though to copy and paste it, but it's a pain in the butt. Yo, Money Mitch. Who the fuck is Money Mitch? Is this you, No Limit? Tell me it's No Limit. Tell me Money Mitch is No Limit. Is that you, No Limit? Yeah, it is No Limit. You motherfucker. This dude. I got a foul mouth today. I blame all you guys for my foul mouth. I really do. I read your chats and I'm like, oh, there. Special KP changed his name. That's not much better. He used to be Kenny P. That was easier. Yeah, you should, Brandon. It's better than Zander time, I promise. TK says, hey, Zander, I don't know if you agree with this. The meeting was about AJ Moore letting out his depression to them, maybe confiding in them. He said he doesn't feel heard. I'm not sure, bro. I don't like speaking on that stuff. All right. I don't personally deal with any of those things in my life. I hope anybody that does is able to get through it the best way that they can, but I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know. That feels wrong to me to speak on AJ Brown's mental, health or problems or if he's struggling or whatever. I don't know shit. So I'm not going to speak on it other than if he is dealing with something. I hope he gets through it. I do. That's what I hope happens, but I can't speak on it from a personal perspective. I've personally never had to deal with it. So, I don't know. Z, for the Nick haters, you can definitely argue that Shane gets the most credit in 22 from a coaching standpoint and Vic in 24. Absolutely, Curtis. All right. I don't know why. I just rubbed my eye, Prince. Prince says you just got into a fight. I had several fights when I was a youngster. I was a problem kid. I tell you, I was in the principal's office a lot. I hated school. I was that guy. All right. That's why a lot of you guys don't like me. All right. I like stirring it up a little bit. I got that one. I suffer from an all brother, and sometimes those talks make the day. Well, TK, listen, if it is that, then shit, I hope it helps. I hope it helps, honestly. But I don't feel like I'm the right guy to talk about it. I have sympathy and I hope everybody's all good, but TK, I could talk to people from a man perspective about things, but I can't give advice when it comes to dealing with that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been there for people. I'm not going to say that story actually, but I had a moment of this in college too, where I dealt with it, but I don't know. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I just rubbed it, Prince. I got sensitive skin. And I was a kid and I was beating up my older brother. He'll tell you that. I used to beat up my older brother for sure. His way to get me back would be a 5-star because my skin was so sensitive. So my whole skin would you could see his handprint on my skin. So he would say, I beat you. because it was so visible what he did. So he would just 5-star me in the back or the arm or something. And then a couple minutes later, I'd have a full handprint on my body. All right. I'd have a full handprint on my body. I've always had sensitive skin. Like if I rub my eyes during a show, you'll see my eyes get red. Some dudes are always like, Xander looks high. I'm like, I'm not high on the fucking show. What the fuck? Bud, thank you, Bud. Bud gifting out some memberships. Appreciate you, Bud. Appreciate you, man. All right. Thank you, Bud. I appreciate you, brother. All right. Hey, random. How come every time yeah, that's a pain in the butt, man. I don't know. It doesn't do that for me. I guess that's one of the reasons. I don't know. I don't know why that happens. Maybe they're throttling us. Roll Philly says I 100%. No, you didn't. You didn't think I was stoned. That's a stupid comment. It's a lie, too. I love how Z understands what to elaborate on and what not to. I'm not perfect at that, HKP, but I try to be. All right. Here's Big Mike. What's up, Big Mike? Xander, the meeting should have happened outside the building so the media couldn't twist it how they wanted. Well, you know what my biggest question about that meeting was, guys? This is my biggest question about this meeting. And I'm not trustworthy of all these media people. Even working with John. I trust John, obviously. But how did we learn about this meeting? How does Jimmy Kempski, the only guy who got a tip on this meeting, and you're talking about a meeting that was between 3 men, Saquon, AJ, and Jalen. Are we under the impression that one of those three told Jimmy Kempski? Like who told Jimmy Kempski? Who put it out there to Jimmy Kempski that 3 grown men, who I don't think any of them, I certainly don't think Jalen would have went to the media. I certainly don't think Saquon or AJ. Now maybe AJ, you could say AJ, but like how do we find out about this meeting? Right. Ego Strong says PR stunt. Some practice team guy, Matt, it was between 3 people. What do you mean some practice team guy? You think some practice team guy texted Jimmy Kempski, hey, I saw AJ, Jalen, and Saquon talking today. What the fuck? It was a 2-hour meeting. What do you think they had the 2-hour meeting with a couple folding chairs in the middle of the locker room? I don't think so, Matt. I don't think so. Something about that was a little bit not 100% truthful to me. All right. Something about that was fishy to me. That's all I'm saying. Something about it was a little fishy because I got no problem with them having the meeting. I actually think it's a great thing that they had the meeting. I don't agree with John at all. So obviously, when you have grown men that need to talk shit out, talk shit out. Do what you got to do. If Saquon needed to bring it, good, bring it. Whatever. But I don't get how those 3 players specifically, dudes that I think are closer to the vest than most, certainly Jalen is. I don't know. Like one reporter, think about it. One reporter got it. No, not all of them at once. Sometimes you see things where every reporter tweets the same thing at the same time. One reporter got it. Jimmy. That's it. And I'm not questioning Jimmy. I'm just saying. Like that was leaked for a very specific reason in a very specific way. And I'll also say this, because I do have respect for Jimmy Kempski. Okay? I do respect Jimmy. I actually think Jimmy does great work. He does. He does do good work. Flat out. He does good work. But let's read this tweet together. Okay? Anybody that's consumed media or understands PR or maybe has a media background or a communications background or whatever you want to call it. All right? Read the wording on that tweet. Does that read like that's what Jimmy wrote about it? I'm told Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley, ready? Here's the kicker, had a long, positive conversation today. Lasted a couple hours. How do we know it's positive? Again, my impression is that I don't know it's positive because I'm not of the belief that Jalen, AJ, or Saquon would say whether the meeting was negative, positive, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, who got that? It reads like a PR stunt. It reads like a PR stunt. Yeah, we got to get Tommy back, Ryan. That's a good idea, actually. I should reach out to Tommy Lawler. Oh, he was the top tweet. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I get it, Twiz. I was just asking how it got released. Like, I don't have a problem with them having a conversation, and I think the men in the meeting agree with you. All right, let's produce. Who gives a fuck about our conversation? Let's produce. But the fact that it got released the way it did, I thought was fishy. Being around this team is weird, guys. They were on John McMullen's ass about his comment on Monday. All of them. He got like 5 comments about John talking about Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying there was no meeting. I mean, Saquon answered yesterday. No, I don't know exactly because John doesn't tell me exactly what they say, but he said I got a lot of shit for it. The one on the aloof comment. The aloof comment that Jalen Hurts is aloof or comes off aloof to some teammates. Yeah. 5, like he said, I got like all day I was dealing with it. I'm like, now they're weird. Look, they're entitled to be. It's a $10 billion organization. They're entitled to protect their image however they want. That's not my criticism. My point is just that they're weird about PR and perception and things that get released to the media and what the media members have to say about the team. They follow it way closer than you think. In fact, they probably read this chat a lot more than you guys think. Honestly. Yeah, they were not happy with John. So, make of it what you will. Caesar, thank you again, brother. I appreciate it. He says, as someone living with depression, anxiety, and ADHD, I see a lot of myself and AJ Brown's struggles. The pressure to perform while managing inner battles is real. It's not just about talent. It's about mental health. I get it, Caesar. Look, I get it. I have ADHD. I'm sure you guys can all see that every day. When I do my shows and one comment throws me off or one topic throws me off or I'm in la land, I got to do, the worst part about my ADHD in this job is that I have to do so many things. I'm not just a show host. Like John and Celia are just show hosts. They show up and they talk. That's it. I do all the back end work. I do all the production. I do all the setup. I do the thumbnails, the titles, the descriptions, the tags, everything. So it's like I got a million things going on. I'm sure you guys can see that every day sometimes. All right. But Caesar, I hope you feel better, bro. I hope everything works out. Remember, I don't know if you're a faithful man or a religious man, but put your faith in the Lord, my friend. I promise you it'll help. All right? I promise you it'll help. Put your faith in the Lord. All right? One foot in front of the other. All right? And remember, I always tell myself that, and I honestly tell myself this every day. We talk about it all the time in the show. I feel blessed that my eyes are open right now and that I'm breathing air. I really do. That's enough for me. That's enough for me to feel a sense of gratefulness. Truly. I'm alive, dude. Does some shit suck in my life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I struggle with money? Do I have relationship problems? Do I whatever the case may be for anybody in life. All right. Everybody's got problems. Every single one of us has problems. Some have problems that are bigger than other people's problems. Some have problems that are smaller. Some have problems that are more severe or more serious than others. One universal truth is we all got problems. All right. The fact that I'm alive to be able to experience them is enough of a blessing in itself for me. That's what I try and tell myself each and every day. And I believe that, honestly. I'd rather be alive and dealing with shit than be dead, than be 6 feet under. I'd rather deal with the shit. All right. God didn't give me these emotions for no reason. happy, sad, mad, pissed, depressed, emotional, whatever you want to put on it. All right? In a way, it might be teaching you something. Caesar, I appreciate the super chat, brother. Stay good, all right, man? Stay good. Stay blessed. Stay grateful, all right? I think it's a cheat code. I really do. Caesar, it's a blessing you're alive, my friend. And we're blessed to have you here. We appreciate you, brother. Matt says, Z, did you feel like Jalen opened up a little more about the processing of the game and shit? Yeah, people said that. People said that a lot, you know, that his presser was good yesterday. I was, to be completely truthful to you, I only listened to a little bit of it because I was working on the Doug Peterson interview. Whenever you get Doug Peterson on, you know, I was getting as many clips of that as I possibly can. I still have more to put out today, but, you know, we launched our short form content, guys. Let me read this to you real quick. We launched our short form. I hired that editor back at the end of August. Vince, if you're listening, I appreciate you, brother, and Martin as well, who does long form. But our first month of posting short form content, you know, people don't understand JAKIB sometimes because JAKIB is not a virality company. We're not built on the viral approach. We're built on consistent posting each and every single day. All right. First month of shorts, 1.38 million views on all platforms. Facebook did 430,000. YouTube did 260,000. Instagram did 247,000. TikTok did 193,000. And X did 248,000. All right. That's pretty amazing. That's a lot of short form views. Got some super chats. Jimmy Wen says, my 9-year-old daughter has ADHD. Jimmy, let me tell you something about this. And I can only speak from my personal experience. And I'm not going to tell you how to father your daughter. All right. I hope she's healthy and well. And I'm sure you guys have a beautiful family. Jimmy, never let your daughter believe her ADHD is a deficiency that will hold her back in life. Again, I don't want to tell you how to parent her. I'm just giving you my advice. When I was young and in grade school, I had teachers who told my parents and told me I wouldn't be able to be a certain thing in life or I wouldn't be able to do it because I had ADHD. Jimmy, it's not that bad. Most people have some level of ADHD. Never tell your kid or your daughter, and this is just my advice, you don't have to take it, Jimmy. I don't want to tell you how to parent your kid. I don't want it to come off like that either. Never let her believe that will hold her back or stop her from doing anything in life. All right? They tried to put me on meds when I was 10 years old. I'm like, fuck that. Popping me prescription medication because they say I can't focus in the shittiest classes of all time. Nah, man, stop that. Stop that. Again, I'm not going to tell you how to raise her. Just saying, don't let her believe it's a deficiency. She's perfectly capable in life. Look, I got ADHD. They tried to put me on meds in grade school. My mom said, no. No meds for my kid. I said, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. It can be a great strength in life. I truly believe that. Not everybody will believe that, but I believe that. Fly Eagles Fly. What's up, Fly Eagles Fly? She says, I keep missing it because work is busy. What happened with John? What do you mean what happened with John? Fly Eagles, what do you mean? What happened with John? Oh, no, I was just talking about the organization was mad at him because of the aloof comment. Here's Bud. He says, do you think Nick Saban will decide to coach again at some point? Bud, honestly, I don't. I think he loves this. By the way, I think he's amazing on media. Most coaches who are that serious can't get good on media. Like Bill Belichick won't ever be as good at media. He was good, but Nick is amazing on College Game Day. All right. I think he loves it. I think he loves being around the game of football in this way. I don't think he wants to get back into the coaching. I don't know. I think it's a fair question. I love Nick Saban, but yeah, I got you. Now we've opened up a can of worms. Look at my boy Dank. That shit had me focused AF. Yeah, I wonder why. All right. Kimberly says most people have ADHD are extremely intelligent and get bored quickly. I'll take that as a compliment. All right. I don't view myself as a victim in any realm. In any fucking realm. Not about ADHD, not about what I look like, not about what I sound like, nothing. Fuck that. I refuse to let that mentality creep into my life. All right? I refuse, and I hope you all do too. I got to go, though. Appreciate you being here. I'm feeling good, so we might be doing some giveaways on Friday, all right? After the game. We have a Thursday game. I don't want to do one today. We did one Friday. We did one yesterday. We did the jersey giveaway yesterday. So I'm feeling another giveaway at some point. By the way, Philly Don, are you in here? Philly Don, are you in here? Is Philly Don in here? I owe Philly Don a shirt because Philly Don became a legend member on the website. Anybody who becomes a legend member on the website, until further notice, this won't go forever, but I take the first $25 that it costs to be a legend member on the website, and I buy you a JAKIB shirt with that $25. So I make nothing on the first month. All right. Philly Don, you're here. You became a legend member on the site. Send me an email, Philly Don. By the way, you have my old email, Philly Don. So if you've emailed me recently on my old email, I didn't get it. I lost that email. So email me here. But Philly Don, I owe you a JAKIB shirt or a hat or something that's like $25 on the site. All right. So you became a legend member. That's much appreciated, my friend. Philly Don, you know I love you. All right. I don't know, Lucius. You might have joined before, my friend. Lucius, this is not, it's like the old adage, when you buy something, and then it goes on sale a couple weeks later and you're like, yeah, what the fuck, man? I could have got that for $20 less. Sorry, man. Sorry, Lucius. I activated that promotion. The only person I've had since that promotion has been activated has been Philly Don. Sorry, my friend. Jason, I'll give you something. I got Jason. Don't worry. I got Jason taken care of. I got him with the jacket, and I even have a shirt for Jason. All right. I even have a shirt for Jason. Yeah, if you cancel and resub, I guess technically you would get it. Now, if you only subscribed 15 days ago, you're gonna pay more this month. But if you want a shirt and you don't want to buy it on the JAKIB merch website, jakibmerch.com, you can do that. That works for me. Whatever you got to do. Anybody who signs up on the jakibsports.com website as a legend member gets a shirt or a hat. Email me your address. Boom. Philly Don said he wants the hat. Philly Don, I think I already have your address, so I'll email you. All right, everybody. I love each and every one of you. Stay blessed. Stay grateful. Anybody that's out there, I love all you guys, man. It's a blessing to be alive. It is. It's a blessing to be alive. I truly believe that. All right. I truly believe that. What's up, Tony? Tony, my frame, I don't think it delivers till tomorrow, actually, or today. My frame for my vet poster you sent me, Tony, which I love, delivers either today or tomorrow. I ordered the same one as you on Amazon. Thanks for sending that link to me. Wait, I want to go back to my boy Jimmy real quick. She's a fourth grader, wants to be a YouTuber. Appreciate it, Xander. She's a smart girl. Jimmy, I'm sure she is. And I'm sure she'll be great on YouTube if she's got ADHD, to be honest with you. All right, so Jimmy, keep pushing her. All right, good stuff. Appreciate all you guys. Ooh, good idea, bud. License plate holders? Did you say that? I never noticed that. That'd be a good idea. What should I do? Like a black plastic one with JAKIB on the bottom? JAKIB Nation or something? Not bad, bud. I'll get that. I need some magnets too for the cars. I think people would like that. But the site I use right now doesn't make them. So I got to go to like another person. My boy ZM, is he in here right now? He works with like a merch company, and he's trying to help me out and get me some JAKIB merch. So maybe I'll do some of those things through him. I'll talk to him and see what he can do. So good stuff. I got a big meeting today at 1:30. All right, with some people to try and some big things coming on JAKIB. Hopefully, where we can leverage and get some extra sponsors and things to keep growing this business. So looking forward to that meeting today. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Hit that like button. I love each and every one of you. Keep your head up. Big game tomorrow. Birds going to be 5-1 after tomorrow. Love all you guys.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.